But is there? Let me actually go into the text chat really quick here and see if there's anything right off the bat from you guys. I definitely want to say hey to a couple folks. I noticed there was a few heys in there. So, Bob's Blaze, good to see you again, man, for sure. And Princess, thank you for joining. I hope you have a good trip soon. Let's see here. There's always the recurring folks I really appreciate for sure.
Oh,
But
they're the best.
oh yeah, no, they make my day for sure. And how about you, Kinky? Are you having a good day?
I am. I am. I had today off, and I did some things, and now I'm quietly eating pizza while I listen to you talk. How about
Nice,
you?
nice. Yeah, I'm still stuffed on that sandwich, so I'm good. I'm just heavily distracted by the fact that super stuffed on a sandwich. So like it's
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's just one of those days. Well, we'll be digging into some comics, but I mostly am going to be opening the black box again and picking one of your all's characters. So I'll pull it up here so that folks can see it while we're kind of hanging out here. You might hear random PC sounds, so I'm sorry about that. But
That's okay.
all right. So the black box here is a place where you can submit your Midjourney characters, and you might see them in the stream. So we're gonna be getting started here any minute now, y'all. Thank you so much for coming. This is definitely one of the bigger crowds that we've had lately, so that's awesome. It means that we'll be making a lot of stuff today because you guys will all be able to join in on what we're making. And it might be something simple, like it might just be like a little comic or whatever, or we can do what we did during the 1930s expressionism stream, which is we just made a bunch of storyboards and started animating them with AI video software. So there's a bunch of cool use cases that we can pull out of the stuff we make today. I'm gonna switch myself over to here real quick so we can see everybody and your chats that are here inside of VC text. That's where I'll be able to see what you guys are talking about. Inside of VC Create is where we'll actually be prompting together. The key thing at this point is that I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a side quest, okay? Just something for us to do while I'm, kind of finagling with a couple details with the specific characters. Sometimes that can take a little bit of time. So what we're gonna do is I have prepared a a series of comics, and it basically is my Halloween theme that I'm going to be going with here. So expect more of these guys to show back up. Okay.
Ew.
um Come on over to original characters here. Okay, so I have a prompt here that's called funny webcomic cultists praising the orb kidcore. And kidcore, what it's going to do, at least in my experience. Oh wait, that's right. There's a restriction on the missing word. Is there a way that we could change that word to orb? Because that would be really funny, actually.
What is
Um,
it?
orb, ORB. Just so that everyone has to prompt things about orbs today, because that's kind of the bit that I'm going to be going with here. Now we don't
Okay.
have to do that. We can literally just do a letter or whatever. But okay, awesome, thank you. The reason being is because there's a bit of an online, meme about like pondering your orb, right? And so I want to see what your all's orbs look like. I want to ponder into your orb. Okay. So this one's mine. This one is it's I oftentimes use the funny webcomic prompt because it pulls from funny pages, right? Which means that it's going to be far more likely to generate what looks like comics, right? And they're not overproduced. Like they're simplified, usually minimalist characters. And so not always off of the initial prompt can you use it, but I have saved here. I'm actually just going to download that really quick for y'all, and I'm gonna post it in VC text here. But this is actually just like a little prompt guide, basically. And this prompt guide's just going to tell you, the links and everything else. It's all in there. So if you wanna dig into it and also save these characters for the future, it's in that document, so you can check that out. But essentially, at this point, we're just gonna inject the character art into there. Let's see here. So I just hit expand on here, and that's how you get all the instructions. You're more than welcome to download this text document and keep it. That's fine. But inside of here is our links, and just off of the initial result, I see a guy with a robe. Like actually two of them with robes, which means it's probably going to work. Okay, so I'm just going to upres one of them, and we'll see what the result is from this. Um, and what I tend to do is I use variation strong at this point, and I just paste the links into the front of the prompt and then send it away. These characters here, the cultists or the lurkers, actually, they're a recurring character in my tech series, right? Where it's just kind of whenever we're making commentary about tech, I usually make fun of folks who are just like the people who don't comment and stuff like that. So that's the lurkers. They're just people who consume media and don't really contribute much to it. Like I consider them to be like this new uprising in media, honestly, because of like AI and everything else letting people make things. But you can see we already got one of them on the bottom left very reliably, right? So I can just expand that and essentially start like making a little joke comic about these guys here. And it actually it actually the wording inside of Midjourney comics are getting better and better, which I don't know if it's a good thing or not. I'm excited to see what sort of stuff gets made in the future too. But the main thing I wanted to emphasize here is that this is my little side quest for you guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this prompt as a repeat, and you guys can just kind of dig through these while we do some character stuff today. And before I really get started, I'll go through the text chat here so that we can, kind of catch up a little bit before I get into more stuff. But I'm going to put a repeat on this, and I'll switch this over so you guys can see more easily. There you go. All right. Um, so I'm going to put a repeat on this. This is actually a pretty dangerous code to use if you're, let me see here. Put that over here a little bit and drag that out. Yeah. Okay. So this code is a little dangerous to use on your account, especially if you're on a basic account, right? Because you have to use fast hours and it's going to eat it up very quickly if you put a high number here. But I'm just going to put repeat of 10. And what that's going to do is it's going to do the same prompt 10 times. And that means that by the end of this, we're going to get 40 comics like all at once. Okay. I'm also in turbo mode, so things are going to go way faster for me than it is for the average person. You're welcome to turn on turbo mode, but it's very, very costly on your account. So the combination of turbo mode and repeat is an easy way to kill all your fast hours. Um, but you can see here that we already got a couple of like funny premises in the sense that we have characters talking to each other. We have weird space orbs and other things like that. Like in this one here, right? They may not all be wearing robes and stuff, but as soon as we do the injection, it's gonna conform a lot faster or a lot more back to the characters I gave you guys. So I'm just gonna do this one as an example. But you guys are more than welcome to dig into here and find the ones that make you laugh as like a starting premise and then start injecting the character art into it. And just know that they won't really look like the characters until you do the art injection, because that's how you bring the character styles back. So you can see, yeah, look how cute some of these guys are. Oh my god. Like it is a very fun way to do this, at least in my opinion. So I have them saved. It says it in the document here, but I have them saved inside of Midjourney as cultist. So if you want to also be able to save your characters, and this is going to be useful after you have your character sheet done. Um, yeah, so like the way that this works is that you want to hit /prefer and then hit option set, and that's where you're going to name your character and then post the links for your character sheet. And it'll be multiple URLs. If you're doing it correctly, it'll be multiple URLs where each URL is a pose. So let me show you guys what that looks like real quick here. And it is kind of important to note too that like this is my workflow. Other workflows work well too. I just this is what I prefer doing. And at least for me, the thing that works best here is to consider that you're creating both a pose sheet and an expression sheet. This is the combination of the two. We have the main turnaround of the character on the left side there, a mostly profile and face front, and then we have all of Sage's expressions, which speaks to her. I haven't really talked about this, but the reason why she looks the way she does is because she is based off of what is called a Franco-Belgian art style. Franco-Belgian is like Tintin, Suske and Wuske, Jomek, and various other comics that I grew up with. Back in the 50s and 60s and stuff. My parents were collecting those comics, and I got the benefit of being able to open up the old dusty box and just keep reading comics that I actually couldn't read because I didn't speak Flemish. So I was just absorbing the art. Um, and my mom would translate funny panels for me and all that kind of stuff. So the reason why it's at least in my opinion is it's Franco-Belgian is because of the way that I treat the eyes in the expression sheet. They are they're not only like minimalist, but they also don't like fully color in the white of the eyes and stuff. It is something that you'll see very commonly in Tintin magazines and all that kind of, or Tintin albums and stuff. You'll see that the characters rarely have the whites of their eyes shown. The little tiny details like that is what say makes me say, oh, this is Franco-Belgian inspired anime. It is certainly not true to exactly that style. Keep in mind, if we wanted that, we could literally just write that in there. And the reason why I don't is because every time I write Franco-Belgian, it makes the comic set in Europe. You know what I mean? And I don't always want. I've done my first comic was set in Europe, but I don't always want to, keep it in Antwerp or Brussels or wherever. So yeah, it's the thing is that information is actually baked into the expression sheet. I do not need to write. I do not. I do not need to write Franco-Belgian anymore in my prompts because the character art looks like that. So by removing that limiter of my prompt, then suddenly my options expand much more because I'm not constantly writing the same word in there. Um, which is heavily limiting the results to just stuff that it thinks falls into that phrasing or wording. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be building a character sheet. It's going to be one of your all's characters, so that'll be exciting to see. And the an example of that is actually Sage here, and I'll get into this and why she looks a little bit different by the time she comes out of it. But yeah, I'm gonna say this, y'all. When it comes to the comics in particular, I always have to make this note. Okay. Um, what you're seeing whenever I'm producing a comic and posting it online, right, is a crafted thing. I have taken my time not just to set up a proper character sheet where every pose is good, as in like they all color match and otherwise, or they make sense. But more importantly, I'm drawing on top of my generative stuff to finalize it. Um, I know that there's a lot you can do when it comes to in painting, and we're going to get into that. But I need to emphasize that when I show you guys a comic like this, like there's a lot of traditional work that's being done on top of this in order to make it not only make sense but also to do actual cartooning, because um, the AI doesn't actually understand cartooning. It knows how to make randomized faces onto characters, but it doesn't understand why those faces are reacting the way that they are. You can say, "Hey, I want an excited anime face," but does it know why that character has an excited anime face? No, that intent is coming from you, right? And so part of what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that you can use generative imagery to do like 90% of the work that you're going to do, but that last 10% that makes it very human and transformative is going to be what brings this all together. Okay? So, this is the comic here. It is a slice of life comic. I wanted it to be just a little, like, just a little sliver of Sage's life at home. But the comic is actually set in 1993, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to be able to give people a mix of like nostalgic fantasy of like being able to go back in time to a simpler time, but also to do a slice of life comedy, right? So all of Sage's comics from here on out, including the one that was before this one, are all going to be set in the early 90s. So exactly 30 years to the day. So I'll be doing that to be very reflective on modern day issues, and I hope it's successful because I'm quite excited about this idea when explored. Um, but the thing about this is, and what makes this unique, is that this comic was actually a kind of a start to a a way to react to people online that is very dynamic and interesting. So every time that somebody commented something, I replied back with a variation of the prompt that I used. Okay, so there's literally like a dozen unique comics inside of the comment section, and people are just like, oh wow, okay, this is taking it to another level. And I had a lot of fun with some of these. Like this is from Crazy Nomenclature, that third panel featuring some sweet new onomatopoeia I want to use, and then it's just Sage going like, "Word," like that's my level of humor right there. So and you can see
I
that
saw
the
that. It was really cool what you did.
oh, thank you. I appreciate you checking it out too. Like the main thing is that the reason why people like seeing this kind of stuff is because they're able to interact with a cartoon character almost in real time. You know what I mean? Like it's this weird kind of new capability that this medium allows us to do. So I'm like, okay, fine, let's just do it. And yeah, next level waifu tutorial from Mavis here. Yeah, I will tell you right now that this will certainly scratch that itch for some people. You know what I mean? And the thing is that when I'm going through this discussion, there's people that are like linking random images, right? Like this dude, right? Look at him. Look at this big buff dude. And so what I did is I did an image injection where I take that person's image that they like the meme that they tried to like I guess troll me with or whatever, and then I turned it into a comic. Okay, so with this one here, I turned it into um a reference to a game from 1993 called Solstice, which has the most badass NES theme song you'll ever hear. It in my opinion, it's better than the Ducktales theme song. And so I was like, okay, this looks dead on like that buff wizard from the album art, so I'll link that. And the general reaction to all that was basically like, oh my god, he's right, it's so beautiful, like like, oh my god, I get it. It was a lot of fun to meme on folks and stuff. I had someone say, and I knew this was coming, so I had this prepared ahead of time, but it's like 1993 with a laptop. So I went ahead and made this little blurb, which for the techie folks in the crowd here are gonna maybe get a better giggle with it than the general public. But man, this is literally my mother in the early 90s. She was so excited about every piece of technology that would come out, and she would like run over and show it to me and stuff. And I was a kid, right? I was like 6 years old. And she would just be like, it's got 40 megs of RAM. And I would have no idea what that meant as a child, but I would just be really excited with her. So this is me kind of combining some people, some important women in my life. And so it's fun. It's a lot of fun for me to do this, and I think Sage is quickly becoming my favorite character I've made. She's easily my most popular. I think she's now at like 6 million views. So like it's for an AI character, that's enormous. Ridiculously big actually. I'm very happy for that. But the Solstice theme song is excellent. Yes, it is. Absolutely. I fully agree with that, or Orthro, for sure. Okay, cool. All right. So I've gone through, and I'm gonna also just kind of directly link this comic here so that you guys can have that. And that's the thing. Feel free to share my stuff. That's why I put the gnarly comics tag on the bottom there, is because I want you guys to be like sharing it and whatnot. If you want to take some images from here, you're not stealing from me, you're just using it as inspiration for more images. So feel free. I mean, go nuts. if you go to my Discord, there's actually all of the core, code like links and all that kind of stuff for both Sage and Victor are up there. So make the comics. There's plenty of fan art on there that I've been like, oh wow, this is not, this is so cool to see. But yeah, thank you, Brandon. I'm happy to see that people love Sage. It is the first character I had that I had the intention of people actually connecting with them. Victor was always meant to be like a big old warning label about AI, and all taking all the negative parts of that too. And Sage is very much not that. Sage, there's a reason why I have her set in the 90s, and it's because it forces me not to talk about AI in a way that's super direct. With Victor, it's the exact opposite. I can't help myself but talk about AI with this character. So, um, yeah, okay, cool. So I recognize that. I'm not gonna comment on things like that. Honestly, it's the thing is that the character design that you're seeing all the way through on a lot of this stuff, it's relying heavily on the seed that I'm basing it off of, right? So like the character continuity of Sage is a little bit different every time, and it's mostly because like I didn't really know who she was either. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to figure that stuff out myself. So like when it comes to like little arbitrary parts of the bodies and all that kind of stuff, I'm not really going to stress about it too much because I haven't really honed that in, but now I feel a lot more confident. But it's mostly coming down to getting to know the characters. You'll quickly realize that you're going to pick your characters a lot less often. Like you're going to be upresing a lot less pictures as soon as you know who your characters are, because you'll be much more confident in going through and be like, yeah, it's a really pretty image, but that's not my character. Um, that's definitely true. But yeah, so I guess at this point, the main thing that I kind of want to show you guys that we have, at least in terms of development of this series, is that, and I'm going to hop myself back over to the tablet here. So what I have prepared here is it's not 100% done. Keep in mind, but the second character that's there, Michael, I have created a character sheet for him, and I am super proud of how some of this is coming out here. It's not 100% consistent yet. There's still some like cheeks and stuff I got to tweak a bit, but I was very, very happy with particularly some of these reactions here that are in the poses, right? So oops, you'll notice here that in the poses, like it to me, that's exactly how I wanted Michael to be, is a bit of a goofball, a bit of somebody who would be like randomly, like uh, essentially not a very stiff person. I wanted him to be loosey goosey and a bit silly, very animated. I wanted him to be the overreactor. And so I was thinking for like if I was to use these two panels here, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, you need a man's help," and then he goes, "Oh no, I'm scared. Help me, Sage." Like just some sort of like just overconfidence, and then his own. He realizes his own limitations or something like
Like
that
she's
very
killing
quickly,
spiders for him.
or something. Like I was almost thinking that it's like there's going to be a big meeting at the office, right? And he's just like, I'll take the lead on this one or whatever, and then he touches the door handle and then gets instantly super scared about like public speaking or something like that, and then he just
That's awesome.
immediately needs Sage's help or something. Sage is going to be a very talkative, outspoken person, and I think that that's something that Michael is going to look up to her for. But also, it's going to get Sage in trouble. Like she's going to speak out sometimes when she necessarily shouldn't, and things like that. These are all characteristics that I've chosen for her because, again, they're based off the women in my life and just like also stories that I wanted to tell over time. Gnarly comics and Comic Sans. No, no, you're not going to see Comic Sans in my freaking comics. Okay. The fonts that I use are Round Butterfly for Sage, and then Plow for Victor. The one thing I recommend when it comes to like fonts, particularly, is not to have too many of them. You want really only your title to be maybe a different font um than the rest of your stuff, because it too many fonts confuses the audience very quickly. His comics will remain Sands of Comic Sans. Yes, yes, they will. Absolutely. Um, the I it's almost, like I can't tell which one's worse. Is it Papyrus or Comic Sans? You know what I mean? Like it's Papyrus is the joke that's actually lasted longer in my opinion. Papyrus has always been an eyesore from the very beginning, but anyway, all right, I'm getting distracted. Random graphic stuff. But so with this character sheet here, though, I'll be able to. I just need to make the expression sheet, right? So everything else that's here is like in fact it's a little too much, but it is perfect for what I want to do because I know that I'm going to basically make use every one of these poses here to kind of help encourage that Michael is a goofball. Um, Things like that is what you want your expression sheet to accomplish. Um, yeah, at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up on my other browser here. We're gonna open up the black box here, and I will say that the last stream that we did was the furry edition. We had, and that's up on my YouTube channel. So if you go to Victor Gnarly on YouTube, you can you can find the yeah, you can find all of the streams that we've done in the past, and at least for me, I had a lot of fun working on Boozlegas comics, like sorry, Boozlegas furry tiger guy, smoking camel sort of dude. That it was a good amount of fun for sure. Whenever we get any sort of submissions from you guys, I have to kind of shoot by the hip on this, so that's why there's a questionnaire on there. It's mostly meant so that if we kind of go through this, I have some sort of guide or idea of where we can take these characters. And this is the black box of characters that we've had submitted here. We've got a couple new ones. I reckon Chris Chris Giddings, yeah, he submitted some close-ups, like some like crazy intense, like, well, that's awesome looking. She's having a bad day, that's for sure. um or otherwise is just extremely angry. So that's fun. We might try to like extract a character out of this just to see, what's possible. um One of the streams we did in the past, we did this character here. This is Avant, and it just it that was a character, that was the name I gave her. It's not the one that is Lydia. I forgot what the name of it was, but there's a lot of characters in here. Like we've had a lot of fun with some of this stuff that you guys have submitted. And I'm still like this guy's new here. The red shirt funny web comic from Mike. Okay, cool. So this might be an example of us kind of branching away from Niji again, and that's probably good. But I do want to hear from you guys actually, because this is something that I'm super curious about. Um, I want to know is, like, do you guys mostly want to see anime, or do you mostly want to see realism, or do you want to see something else? Like, I wish I could just put a poll out there and ask really quick. um just because I have no idea what sort of stuff you guys want to do necessarily. I just have these submissions, right? Yes, just yes. Yeah, I think that when it comes to yeah, and I'm glad to hear that in terms of, like, if there was a bubble response, I think all would be the one you guys end up, picking the most. I want humanoid spider waifus. Okay, yeah, yeah. You want all the things. Yeah. I'll say it like this. The only reason why I ask is because I don't want you guys to like tune out, if I'm doing like too much anime or I'm doing too much of a certain character, right? So I won't be offended if you're like, move on, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that what we should start off though, because anime is so easy. I mean, like, literally we can just inject into there, and it's more about discipline about what your options are than it is anything else. um I think what we're going to do is we're going to mess with this one today. This one is from Grace. And the reason why I want to pick this one is because I think this is going to venture us into some really fun places. um it's going to let us get into spook dark horror land, but also like maybe a little bit of like Umbrella Academy, kind of stuff. So I'm going to download that, and we're going to start our character continuity stream here. Um, and consistent main character anime hairstyle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's a reason why Victor is the way that he is, like the way that he looks. Um, it makes it way easier for me to repeatedly inject a character and get a consistent style out of him because he's always wearing a black shirt and his hair is kind of spiky in a counterclockwise spin. So it's really easy for me to go to pick him out of a crowd, especially with a bunch of non similar looking characters. Like it's just really easy to conform this character. So the more details you tend to throw in, there's a reason also why my Michael looks the way he does. It's like he is not an overly complex character on purpose. He does not wear a watch. He does not have earrings. He doesn't have any of these small little annoying details that are going to get lost or potentially artifacts within your prompts. So um yeah, and when it comes to like clothing and stuff like that, like Princess is asking about ornate clothing, we'll be able to get away with some patterns, but patterns will always kind of be randomized in some way. You'll notice that if you have an emblem on your character, when Nico Keen had sent me his character, and I'll just kind of run to my Instagram real quick just to show you guys that character here. I'll open up the exquisite corpse here. So um, the thing about this is that when I was given this character here, that chess piece that's on there, that is like the circle and the little like kind of like on button sort of looking shape. If you look at the center design here, it's not consistent. Like it shifts around a lot, which is also why I didn't put a lot of focus on it through the comic. I really could have put more time into that, but I wanted to get it done, and it was a really fun project. So when it comes to ornate clothing, we will start to run into roadblocks pretty quick, or otherwise limitations, where it's actually better to, at least in my opinion, it's better to have a simplified character design that you can then draw the pattern on top of later, because then you get the absolute control over it. I know that you guys don't like hearing that, but it is true that when it comes to like certain ornate stuff, I will just redraw that in on every panel because it is just something that I really want to make sure I get right. You can also take the kind of hacky, lazy way to do it and just delete the entire color from the layer and then replace it with like flannel or some other pattern, right? That's a really lazy way to do it, but that they do that stuff in cartoons all the time, in order to kind of give some complexity to clothing and stuff. But what I'm going to show here is we got to get that linky thing here that I downloaded that. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Photoshop here, and you guys can use any image manipulator you want. You don't have to use what I'm using here. But what I'm going to do is essentially take this turnaround here, that this kind of like, it's not even a full turnaround, it's just parts of her, and the and we're going to try to do a little more of a photorealism sort of prompting here, where I'm not relying on Niji um, in order to make this character, because there is not a single aspect of this that really reminds me of Niji. Maybe a little bit of her outfit on the right side here has some outline to it, but overall, this is much more in line with realism in general. So we'll have some fun with this one. But the first thing we need to do is we actually need to expand the canvas and make this way easier to select parts of this. Okay. Because this is not a full body turnaround, we're going to have to make it a full body turnaround in order to be able to get every potential camera angle and distance from the camera that we're going to need. Um, and that's pretty easy to do. I mean, you're just going to be highlight selecting parts of it and then separating them out so that you can easily copy and paste them later. But and this is partly why I was telling you guys to start messing around with those comics, because this is going to take me a second as we start building up. So before I dig into this, before I start cutting into there, I definitely want to hop back over to VC Create and see what you guys have done so far. um I'm
And if
seeing
you
a
are
couple.
creating in VC Create, you will need to use the word orb if it tries to stop you.
Yes,
ORB.
yes. ORB. Yeah, and it'll yell at you if you don't. But what we can do here is Man, there's already some fun ones here. Like I'm loving these ones. Any ones that have like the kind of style cute turned on, yeah, you're gonna get some really fun results out of that. Um, like anything with the little kids and stuff is super fun. But what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just to get you guys started here. I'm going to run up to some of these top prompts here, and I'm just going to immediately start putting in cultist on all of them so that we can immediately start to see, um, and also just give you guys something to do while I'm getting through some of these character sheets here. So I'm looking for anyone with a robe, basically, and then writing the word cultist in front there. This code will not work for you. You need to copy and paste the links completely, or make your own slash prefer command for this one. So by coming through here and only on variation strong, we're basically removing a lot of the comic aspects. But the reason why that doesn't really matter too much is because we can always expand or develop panels off of off of our results here. So what I'm gonna do is just like take this one for example, and we'll we'll scroll down and take a look at them before I move on to the character sheet here. But I want to do this on all of them because I want to make sure that you guys get a really good variety of options here, because the character is consistent enough to where we can certainly make a couple of comics for Reddit together. And I don't really know how well this is going to work, honestly, because I don't really know if I wrote honestly. That's funny. It's just because they're really funny to me. I don't know how funny they are to you guys, and like it's okay if they're not. I'm not going to be offended or whatever, but there's just a level of goofiness that if you just take away all of the negative aspects of a cult and stuff like that, it's really funny to just imagine a bunch of people in a room together just kind of making noises and stuff. So I'm gonna have my fun here with you guys and just run all of these, and we'll see what we get. um if there's any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask instead of VC text, because I will be digging into there every once in a while. But I wanted to prep all these
I have a
comics
few
ahead of
ready
time.
for you.
Okay, perfect. You can go ahead.
Whenever you're ready. Oh, go ahead. Big Pharma wants to know how the heck are you using your character live in your stream?
Yeah, I'm using a program called Character Animator from Adobe. I am an Adobe kid. I have been since my young teens. When first got me some Photoshop. And the thing is that with Character Animator, I just took a preset and I replaced all the assets with generated stuff from another character. So my main OC here, um, and it all just came down to the fact that like I was able to replace enough parts until nothing of the I don't even know how to make the character look the way I'm looking yet. It's still I'm still learning it, but there's just a lot of finessing that it takes in order to understand how to do like layering of your characters. So like you see how I'm bending around right here. It's all because my belly here has an anchor point, and that anchor point keeps me from sliding and shifting around. It just lets me move my shoulders. Yeah, it probably looks pretty silly as I'm just kind of leaning and bending and flopping around like a fish, but
Like a
um
snake.
yeah, like a snake. But yeah, like the key thing here is that like I can blink. I can do little regular things that make me feel a little less robotic, I guess. But um, the you need a webcam in order to track your mouth and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, honestly, when face rigging, like these kind of like face rig programs first came out, they were such a joke in Hollywood. Like when we were, because this must have been 2013, 2014, and they were coming over to our offices and going like, "Hey, you should try this new software out. We're making it," and it would later become like the foundation for like Jib Jab and a bunch of other like early. It was,
Yes.
you remember Jib Jab, yeah.
Oh my God,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, there's it's amazing how many Gen Zers are like, what the hell are you talking about? And it's like, oh God, I that makes me feel especially old because they were considered like the new hot thing to like send Christmas cards with and stuff. And it was just people talking with like South Park style animations, right? And so you can do that kind of thing with the character animator where you have this sort of like preset sort of mouths and stuff that you're cycling through whenever you talk. So you can go real wild with it. It's pretty awesome. And it's also good if you're doing traditional animation because you can just quickly animate something and then get that file, bring it over to Animator, and you have all your assets moving in a timeline. So that's really cool. Um, yeah. So yeah, I hope that should answer that question anyway.
Brandon MC wants to know, how do you keep your hand detail low to on purpose to reduce complexity?
Yeah, yeah. I tend to pick hands that are a little blocky, and you'll notice that at least when okay, all right. So I do have a way that I can kind of explain this with a story here. It was one of my first times working with puppets, right? So I had never actually handled the puppets themselves. And they're a lot bigger than you think, guys. They were enormous because we wanted really big pretty sets for that show. But a lot of people think that they're like just tiny little 3-inch figurines and stuff, and sometimes we're forced to use that stuff. But it's largely it's a little bit larger than what people think. And so the thing is that it takes a lot of time to animate mouths and do it in time, right? Like you would have to like really take time to animate every little bit of it right if you're going to include a mouth as you animate. So the cheat is that we don't animate the mouths usually. What we do is we put a dot, like just a little single dot in the mouth, and that dot is actually used for tracking in visual effects. So we can have the voice actor come in after we've already animated, usually. Maybe not usually, but like afterward anyway. The voice actor can come in and improv lines, and improv and stop motion don't mix, like they really don't. Like you really have to have your audio ahead of time if you're going to improv. And so a lot of times like we have the voices and we just track a mouth, like preset mouths onto that dot, and you can use that same logic in midjourney where your character sheet doesn't include any mouths, right? And that will encourage blank faces every time you prompt. So they might have different like movements and things, different poses, but if you are at least competent in drawing, you're actually going to get way better results that way because it means that like every panel will have a hand drawn element to it, and it'll just look better in my opinion. At the very least, it'll have a lot more intent, just by running blank mouths. And you'll notice that actually, I don't have a great example of that right now, but a lot of Sage's prompts come with blank eyes, like the eyes don't have any pupils and stuff. And that's actually very useful for me. I tend not to mind it when it does that.
Then we have some just comments from your question about what we'd like to see. I think you already addressed Princess Lux, but she did follow up and say that she also would like advice on interesting comic layouts. And then Mavis said that he wants to learn how to do consistent main character anime hairstyles. And Fallon Ray says average hero would be cool. And
Average
Gallifrey said
hero.
maybe leverage Niji a bit.
Leverage needs, yeah, yeah, I get that for sure. I don't like to name drop a lot because it, like I really do enjoy seeing the stuff you guys make with it and whatnot. Whenever I kind of mention something, but it's also true. Like I don't know what those guys feel about AI. It's been literally a decade since I've spoken to anyone at the team, right? So, well, maybe I've spoken to 2 or 3 people privately, but I haven't spoken to them about the industry and stuff. So with the writer's strike now kind of coming to an end and whatnot, and the SAG strike is probably going to end here soon too. I'm sure all those guys are going to be a lot more vocal about their uses of it, but also like their disagreements with it. So I hesitate to kind of talk too much about it, but um, I will say that we should definitely do some stop motion would be a lot of fun to start prompting here soon. But let's get through this character design, and then we can maybe mess around with some of that, because getting a consistent stop mo character might be pretty cool. Actually, that would be really cool.
I'd so be down for that.
Right, right. And like do some like what is it? Dark Crystal stuff, you know? I'm a big fan of Dark Crystal, so
Yes, please.
I was super sad that they didn't continue the second season of it or whatever. The Netflix revival of it, because it has some some amazing animators that are on that show, and some of them are like only on YouTube. Like they only did Dark Crystal in YouTube, right? Which is kind of crazy to think about. But overall, they are like I just really love the look of it. My wife absolutely can't stand it. Like she cannot stand stop motion. Unless it's for a horror, like unless it's for something scary, she doesn't she gets really uncomfortable with some of that stuff. So like everything to her is just a Tool music video when it comes to stop motion. And I'm like, but there's so much more, you know. And she's an animator. She knows, but it's still funny to me. So
Yeah.
the only thing I'm doing here, by the way, is and I'm gonna switch on over to tablet here. The only thing I'm doing here is I am separating some assets out so that it's easier for me to select these. And this will probably be the one that I end up not using at all, because her no one is that thin. Like that's just anorexia. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I don't like the idea of using these distorted character forms unless it's for like unless everyone in the world has this elongated body form and all that kind of stuff. I would rather not. Um, and that's just a personal preference. Um, but let's go ahead and just start copying and pasting until we have a nicely separated sheet here. But at least for me, at least whenever I was doing like early visual effects and stuff for myself, like I found myself constantly wanting to do animation as opposed to the stuff I was doing, which was largely like live action commercials. Like I really hated working on commercials. So you'll see a kind of theme with my comics if you go to my website. That I oftentimes make commercials, like I make fake ads, and it's my way of kind of putting a big metal finger up to my old career, because like I hated working on ads. I won't say which ads specifically I didn't like, but like um I'll tell you the ones I did like. I really liked working on the State Farm ads, like the State Farm Robot Chicken style ads. Those ones were a lot of fun.
Sounds
Um,
awesome.
but I overall though I would I try to lampoon the idea of a commercial. If you've seen Don Hertzfeldt Rejected, is kind of where I'm going at it with some of the stuff. But okay, cool. So I have everything separated out here, and now I'm just gonna get rid of the ones I don't want. So I know I don't want this one. I know I don't want this one. And that should give us actually enough to get started here. The main thing we're looking at here is that we have a variety of results. We do not want much redundancy at all, right? So that's mostly going to boil down to the angle of the character. So if you do have a prompt that comes up where you've got all these angles, you've done most of the work at that point when it comes to the organization of all this stuff. So I'm going to say something like this should be just about good. And then we're going to give it a white background here so that I can start copying and pasting into Discord without problems. In fact, we had another user named Hepcat, and I'll see. I'm going to switch on over to this here. Um, go over here. Yeah, I had another user named Hepcat that had some trouble with his prompts and stuff, like trying to get his character in. And it turned out one of the major reasons was because he had an alpha channel inside of his image. Like he was just very confused why why it wasn't working or whatever. And it all just came down to the fact that the alpha channel was adding so much randomness to his backgrounds. Like it would add like one prompt it would be a nice pretty sky, and another prompt it would be hellfire. You know what I mean? It was just all very random. And so part of my workflow actually is about returning it to what do you call it, a more like a sheet, right? So like what I'm going to do here is instead of, and I'll do this in VC Create so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to take a white background, paste that into there, and crop all this mostly down here. I just need to get rid of one line that I see. Something like that. Boom. Well, boom. Yeah. And what we're going to do is we just collapse all this down so that we have these nice thick white, you know, like frames around everything. And we're just going to start highlight selecting each one of these images and posting them as a separate image inside of Discord. So I'll take this one first, and then I will paste that like that. And we're going to do this to all of them, because what this is going to do is it's going to give us our starting image links. If you look at the cultists, the image links inside the cultists, um, those those images here, and I'll show you guys what that looks like here. 1, 2, and 3. So with the cultists, it's actually just snippets of my first comic that featured them. It's nothing more complex than that. It's just snippets. It's not even a proper character sheet for these guys. And I'm doing this on purpose so that you guys can see that even if you don't do everything right, if you don't follow my exact workflow of trying to make a proper character sheet, you can still have continuity. You're just going to get more random results. So this is a way to control the results. So what we're going to do is keep on copying and pasting that, and essentially start building a turnaround inside of Discord. Um, and the more negative space that's around the character, the more likely that the character is going to be farther away from camera when you do the injection, depending on the actual thing that you're putting in there. So we mostly just want to get all the angles, which for now is just a basic, you know, profile, face front, 2/3, and then the you know, we don't have a back of the head or anything like that. We'll get there. We'll get there. So I'm just going to work with these four for now, as I feel like that's probably enough. And I'm just going to open all four of these so that I can grab each link from them. So we got one, and I'm just going to paste that in here to make it a bit easier. Yeah, and so we're getting to the character sheet now. Red shirt, I see your comment here. I've missed. I may have missed it, but did he comment on generating character sheets in Midjourney? We are just about to get started with that, actually.
Perfect timing.
And yeah, yeah. So it's you're here for it. You got this. So the main thing is that I am starting off with a couple different images, right, in order to kind of get the ball rolling here. But you can do this off of a single image as well. So if you found a character inside of your Midjourney prompts that you really like, or maybe there's a character from something else that you want to take, then you can use that image instead of what I'm doing here. But now that I have all these links here, and I'm just going to confirm that they work really quick by running over to VC Create here, hit /imagine, and paste that into there. And it did not. So I'm missing a word here. Let's just, oh, that's right. I'm missing the orb. I need to make the orb. That's right. Yes. And you can see that we already have someone jumping on it. So Mavis is already getting on it. So that's awesome. And I'm not surprised that Mavis is are already pulling links and doing stuff. In fact, he was the one that taught me /prefer, I believe. So that's pretty cool. But you can see here that yeah, blue girl value. There you go. Nice. And you can see that the result that we got is essentially like, as well as the word orb, by the way. The orb word is going to make it a little harder, so I'm going to probably switch off of VC Create for some of this tutorial here. But the at least for what's happening here, you're seeing a combination of all the images and the word orb that's in there, which is making like a moon in the background and stuff. So for the sake of me not having to require the word orb, I'll be doing some of this inside of my own private Discord here. This is largely just a way for me to separate these two things out because VC Create does have a themed word, right? So we're going to hop on to what I'm calling the Black Lodge, and I have a couple different lodges inside my Discord. They're basically just themed AI image generation channels, and the Black Lodge is meant for like more darker, spookier imagery, so that if someone really doesn't like seeing that kind of stuff, they can just hop over to a different lodge. Um, so inside of here, I am going to, prompt all the images again here. And I know that this works, right? So I'm just going to copy that and save it for later. But to answer the question about turnaround sheets, the way that I do it is I create a turnaround sheet that has no image references at all. But instead, I am going to describe the character. And we can do that actually in Midjourney. So if I hit slash describe, and then I grab the main picture we have of her here, which is going to be this one here. I can just drag and drop that onto there. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell us what the machine thinks is inside this picture. Okay. So, it says an ugly. Oh wow! It says an ugly woman in a suit and tie. That's very, very
Oh,
polite of you, Midjourney. And the
that's
style of,
hurtful.
right? It's just and like she's clearly not ugly, right? It's probably looking at the bluish skin tone and like other things like that. But we're inferring a bunch of stuff that really doesn't make sense. Like it's just guesses. So
Hmm.
it's even worse, by the way, Kinky. It's way worse when I'm showing this to a traditional artist and then Midjourney calls their art grotesque. Like
Yeah.
I have had that happen twice to me now, where I'm talking to a traditional artist who, hey, maybe they have a reputation or they're otherwise really well known, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be like super like look at all this cool stuff it can do, and then Midjourney calls their art grotesque. In other words, you know what I mean? Like it's a little
To
frustrating.
Midjourney.
Yeah, it
It's definitely worse coming from Midjourney, but I think they are working on getting a better version of the describe function.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would love to see an upgrade on that, especially since it doesn't have any way to determine whether or not things are like within certain data sets. So like a lot of
Hmm.
people I've noticed they'll hit that imagine all button that's on the bottom here, and
Right.
they'll be running anime characters, and then when they hit imagine all, they don't get the anime characters at all because they didn't run any Niji or they didn't run any data sets on it, right? So it's or any
True.
styles on it. So it's the results you get out of it. I'll just hit imagine all so you guys can see what this looks like. But the my cat is screaming again. But the key thing is that what we learn from this though is oftentimes without any sort of styles or filters on there. So if you need to do that, you need to actually copy these results and then add Niji or add style raw to the end of it. But what it does let me do is see which one gets us the closest, the fastest. You know what I mean? Like, and that's this one easily because it's red eyes, glowing girl with dark hair. You know what I mean? In a suit.
Hmm.
That's basically spot on. So, and sadly, that's the ugly woman prompt. So that's not fun. But what we're gonna do though is we're going to take this and we're gonna take bring this to a turnaround sheet. So I am just gonna write full body turnaround, multiple poses, and then I use a pronoun, so I'm gonna use her. And then we are going to paste the results from the describe there, and then we're going to go through those results to try to hone in like maybe some unnecessary details because I don't know whether or not these are necessarily or whether or not we need them, but I have a personal preference of not using people's names. Like I prefer not to use proper names inside of my prompts. You guys are
Hmm.
more than welcome to do whatever you want. Whatever you want. That's fine. But
Do you mean real
I
people's names or do you mean the
yeah,
characters' names?
the real people's names. Like I
Oh, I
if
get
there
that.
if the slash describe if it gives me like Andy Warhol or anything like that, I don't want to make an Andy Warhol copy unless I'm paying homage to Andy Warhol, right?
Right.
Now AI doesn't work the same way as traditional, whatever. So I get that sometimes you have to use people's names and stuff in order to kind of get your vision closer to what you might think, but in my opinion, you get a lot closer to a true personal sense of expression by relying on what I'm going to call subjective derivatives, where you're not where the phrasing and wording you're using is a lot more generic and technical than it is I want to make a Star Wars, but I don't know, with cats or something. Like I really, it just bothers me that when I see so many things that are like so clearly a derivative of Marvel or whatever,
Mhm.
um and like the number of Spider-Man posts that I see is just kind of upsetting. Because I like Spider-Man a lot, but it really dilutes it down for me when I see a million people's different takes on Spider-Man, you know?
Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man. Yeah, there's a lot of Spider-Man around. So I'm gonna take out let's see, Slender. I'm gonna take out anime art. Just because I'm and we can take out some of these colors here, like dark black azure. Reason being is we're gonna be introducing some of that stuff later. And then in the style of Raphael Lacoste, I'm going to also take that out simply because, again, I don't like using people's names. Um, and uh, and screw it, I'm going to keep the ugly girl prompt in there, and we're just going to see what we get. I I really don't like. I just don't know whether or not it's like necessary to be so like condescending inside of some of these prompts, but I do think what it does though is it lets us be able to see where the flaws of our results are here. So
Are you specifying blue skin?
no, in fact, I should. Because if you look at the results that we're getting here, it's very like kind of Nightmare for Christmas sort of slender characters, which I'm liking. But we are not getting the skin tone. We are not getting, but we did get the tie and suit. So I know that at least it goes that far. So now we just got to tweak the results until we get what we want, you know? Um, let's go. And Ghoul Punk is kind of a cool phrasing for Halloween too. So this might be a more appropriate character. Um,
Mhm.
so let's go with her and then say blue skin and put that pretty close to the front of the prompt. There might be a question lingering to some of you all about like how am I able to control some of this stuff, and it all comes down to the word order. Like the first word or link that you include is far stronger than the last word that you include. So when I just include blue skin, suddenly everything has a blue skin. You know what I mean? Because I put it towards the front of the prompt. And there's definitely some interesting minimalism going on here with some of these
Yeah.
no faces. Like I gotta save that one for later because this one's kind of reminding me of Pyramid Head a little bit from Silent Hill. So I
You
want
know
to
what I
keep
think?
that.
You know what I think's doing it is the word slender.
Oh yeah,
Slenderman.
Slenderman. Yeah, a bunch of Slenderman kind of stuff, which is cool. But I do have this one here, and I'm gonna open this one up in inside of this window here so you guys can see. This is actually pretty, it's not perfect. It doesn't, we don't have our profile. We'll be able to get a profile out of this one, but man, is that spooky. Like I really like the little weird like tentacle finger things, like as if it's gonna, like she's kind of like a parasite. Like she can like steal
Yeah.
from you, like steal your, like a body snatcher kind of thing. That's pretty
Yep.
cool. Um the it there's a movie I'm thinking of now, and it's called like The Faculty, I believe, and it's a horror movie about body snatchers, right? It was the only movie that John Stewart was in that he played a serious role in it, and it's so embarrassing for him. Like it literally, if you
Oh,
bring up The Faculty to John Stewart, supposedly he like cringes to the point
I
where he
love
has
John
trouble.
Stewart so much.
I love John Stewart too, but like it is so funny to see him in that movie because you're like, wait, he's not trying to be funny. Oh no.
No,
Like
no, no, no.
yeah, it's funny to see him in it. It's really weird to see him in a horror movie. So yeah, that's a fun one. But what we can do now, we have this full body character here, and I could re-roll until I got something maybe else that I wanted or whatever. But I want to show you guys exactly what this injection process looks like. So we have all of our links from before. I can, in fact, copy that from earlier here. Yeah, I'll just grab them. I lost at some point lost my copy paste here. So I'm just going to copy my links and I'm going to hit variation strong, and I'm going to start pasting links to the front of the prompt here. And like we said earlier, if you have your slash prefer ready with different links, sure, but that we're trying to get to that point right now. So um, I am simply pasting all the stuff that we've determined is consistent to what we want for the character. And the only thing that you have to keep in mind when injecting into this stuff is that variation strong is going to heavily bring the image back to your images here. Like it's going to heavily bring your prompt back to what your image injection looks like. So depending on the results, it may or may not be what you want, but that just means that you got to find a new base image to inject into. And you can see here, it looks like it's working to me. So yeah, it did work. I'm gonna pull this up on full screen here. There you go. We even got a back of the character too, with the bottom left one here. And this is all working because of variation strong. It lets us be able to say, hey, you the previous prompt is just a template. It's just a reference. It doesn't actually, I don't need that exact image. I need something that's kind of like a middle ground between what I'm giving you and the result that we got. And that's what this is. So that's pretty rad. But we can actually keep doing that. And I'm going to hop back over here so you guys can see this because this is pretty important. Whenever you're doing this sort of injection stuff, there's a reason why it's not a blend. So right now, if I would just paste all the links and run a prompt with that, that is called a blend. And a blend is essentially a median of everything that's in the prompt, right? Text and all, right? An injection, on the other hand, is something that I uniquely found when I was doing this stuff early on back in like December, right? And essentially, the results that I would get was drastically more controllable because I would just keep hitting the same button and pasting my links and then keep doing that. Like, keep hitting the exact same button and do it again and again and again. And with variation strong, which is the new button, right? With variation strong, it gets us a lot faster to what we want. But with variation subtle, on the other hand, we can paste those same links in there and be able to keep the composition of this prompt. It'll merge, it'll start to like combine some details. So say like we really like the weird body snatcher sort of like tentacle things, then variation subtle is far more likely to keep those details into it. But it will also not really be too on model. I'll open this up here so you can see. I could force this to come back to the model, but because we're kind of finding a median with variation subtle between all these, we have some cool hands. We have a body that might work, but you notice how the head is always not really what we're looking for. It's kind of in the middle between these two prompts. So and then if we compare it to one of these results here, it's pretty spot on in terms of the character design. So, just going through the results by hitting variation strong multiple times will let us be able to, really hone in exactly, the right amount of balance here. There are codes. I can almost feel Mavis, yeah, like just getting ready to message me, going like, "Oh my god, there's all these codes you need to start talking about." I avoid codes on purpose, man. I really do. I avoid codes because I want people to just immediately get into their own characters, and then if they want to spend the time to do it, then yes, all day, all day. And I'm sorry to just kind of like call you out there and whatnot, but I know it.
he's he's not quiet about what he thinks. I'll tell you that much.
Oh no, and I
That's why we
appreciate.
love Mavis.
Right, and that's actually why I very much appreciate folks that are very willing to message me and tell me when I'm doing stuff wrong. Right, I may not be
Yeah.
able to understand everything that is being said, just because like I don't know, I have only so much patience, honestly, and everything Mavis has told me has been gold. Honestly, I'll say that. It's
Have
just.
you ever heard Mavis speak?
No, I would actually
No.
no, maybe once over one of the voice channels, but
You'll never
yeah.
forget it.
I've seen what he looks like because includes himself in prompts. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, all right, okay, all right. Gonna move on now. So what we have here though is we have some different turnarounds of the character here. I think that this one actually, the third one here, works the best. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here and upres that third one, and then we're going to do a zoom out. And the reason being is because we can usually get more usable turnarounds from a zoom out and a pan. So I'll do zoom out 2 times, and then we'll also do a pan left, and a pan right, just to see what it does. I think I kept hitting cancel by accident. There you go. All right. So just about got our 3 results here, and this is a pretty clutch move, honestly. To be able to just quickly get more usable poses out of the zoom functions. So I'm just gonna kind of open this one up here, open this one up, and open this one up. Okay, and we'll hop back over to here. Cool. All right. So you can notice that the original image. This is the zoom out 2 times. We got, a better full body out of her, but we also got her walking, which is a really great. We already have our first action pose out of this. We have a behind the head of her leaning in on something. These are huge for what we want to do. So I'm actually going to upres both of these. Like these are rad. And then we'll move on to the next image. We got a pretty cool with her turn, but the neck and the collar is all wrong. We would have to in paint those. Um, the and this is less usable, I would say. Overall, these are not very usable, so I'm going to move on. And then boop. Yeah, and then we have this one, which was the pan right, and this one largely did nothing. We got one very very small usable pose at the end here. This very, yeah, right there. Maybe we could use that, right? But I would think overall we got everything we needed off of that one zoom out. So I know that I've been asked about pans and stuff. I do use pans, but I'm more often using pans very very in a utilitarian way. Like I have a lot of intent when I'm using pans. When zooms, I'm often just like what's around the corner? What's over here? And like just kind of being very curious whenever I'm doing zooms. But let's go ahead and jump back over to Photoshop here. And I'm going to grab the ones that I upresed here. I guess the key thing to pull out from these is that we have to get the poses out of these. And there's a couple different ways we can do that. But because we have some pretty nice flat backgrounds, again, the reason why the backgrounds are so flat and easy to work with is because we're including all those white borders around our images. It's kind of trying to mimic that. So what I want to do is I want to grab as much usable poses from this as I can. So I'm just going to use the magic wand selection tool and just delete the backgrounds from this. And you can notice that it kind of made a halo around everything, right? You can also use object selection, but it lags my computer pretty good when I'm streaming. So I'm going to avoid that, but I'm going to turn off contiguous here. And what that does is it lets me select everything of that color in the image. And we're going to increase the tolerance a little bit so that I can get a little more of that out of there. Good. Yeah, that should be good here. And essentially, I'm going to put that to the side for now. And we're going to do the same thing on this one. There we go. All right. So we definitely got some funny Slender Man sort of arms on the bottom here, which I'm actually going to keep that. I'm going to keep that just as a possible pose for the future, right? Because we need some good spooks. We need some good spooky characters.
Good variety.
Um, good variety of spooks, yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start taking these poses and putting them to the side so that we can have them for later.
I'm just learning to Photoshop, so
Oh yeah,
everything is annoyance with it.
yeah, yeah. There's a little bit of a learning curve with some of it, but why is it not letting me have my? I'm gonna just save and close it. Hold on a second. I gotta control delete here because it literally like a window pops up on my computer says, "Are you sure you want to restart your computer?" When I hit Alt F4, like what the hell? There we go. Look at that lag. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Boom. All right. While that's loading up here, I'm going to pop us back over here and oh, loud noises. Okay. Let me actually hop back over to the voice chat really quick here because I definitely want to I want to get an opinion or two from you guys when it comes to what this girl should be doing. Okay, we definitely got some orb action going on because it's her. And I want to see some of your all's comics. Okay, okay, this is too funny to me. I'm instantly laughing at one of these here. And the reason why is because I can almost imagine like a political rally. You know what I mean, or something like that, where it's all of them, like like I don't know. I want you guys to like tell me like the best way to write jokes for me, right? Like to just tell me what you think is funny about an image is just to hit reply. If you hit reply to the image, right, and you just write down what you think is happening in there, it's too freaking funny to me. There's all sorts of orb action going on, which is great. But it's also funny because the orbs seem like they're coming back as speech bubbles, and that's too funny for me. Like, yeah, there's look at him with the guitar. Oh, that's great. Oh man, I cannot wait to dig into some of these with you guys later. That's gonna be. Oh my god. Yeah, no, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. All right, I gotta finish my character thing though. Um, okay, cool. And I'm just kind of looking over any text chat here. Can I add in text over an image or just to create a logo with text? When I prompt the exact text, the output mixes the lettering. Yes, yes. It'll always mix up the lettering because Midjourney doesn't really output reliable text. Newer, there's some other image generators that are better at that
Yeah.
than Midjourney is. I think Dolly 3 is supposedly really good at that. But I'll just tell you right now, I'm kind of happy that it doesn't send like text that's legible or like that clearly makes sense. And the reason being is that I don't know how true this is, right? But I for a while I was running the prompt meme art, okay? And meme art like it's like a deduction of memes basically from my experience. The amount of foul language in the meme art prompts is really unfortunate. And I mean like foul like really really homophobic words and stuff like that keep coming back up whenever I ran the meme art prompts. And I think that has to do because people are making really terrible memes, right? And it's just seeing that overlap of the same derogatory words being used again and again and again. I could be completely wrong about this, but like there's a weird recurrence of foul language in my comics whenever I use the meme art prompt. Um, Again, it could be entirely subjective to my own experiences, but yeah. Um, I just love some of these that you guys are making though. Okay, cool. We are just going to finish this character sheet here. So the main thing I kind of wanted to pull out of this though was that like this is going to create a little bit of a red halo around the character because there's already some like pixel bleed from the way that I'm cleaning up these images. But for now, anyway, that should be more than enough to get us some very usable results. Um, the only thing we're missing here is her feet, but I don't think that really matters too much. The internet really cares about feet, but I we'll be fine without the feet. Let's see here. Da-da-da. I just want to make sure that each one of these images are easily selectable. So I'll start separating these out here, and then we'll organize it a little bit. And then we'll start to inject these as our final turnarounds in order to start creating poses, particularly poses that match the story that we want to tell. A lot of times you'll find yourself being inspired by the prompts themselves. Like what you get back may very well change the entire direction of your story. That's not a bad thing, y'all. That it's okay. It's okay to allow Midjourney to have influence on your stories. It's very hard for traditional entertainment people to accept that. Let alone a lot of their projects will not accept that. Like, say you're doing a commercial for a corporation, they have to approve everything ahead of time in terms of like the story, the characters, the script or whatever. You can't have AI just jumble up a bunch of details inside of that text, that contracted agreement, right? So very often the tradition, like the professional crowd anyway, they're going to look at this more like a toy than as a filmmaking tool initially. They don't see the storyboarding capability like I do. It was something that came much later. And I'm not going to name names of which studios are more friendly than not to what we're doing here. But I am excited to see what they're able to make with a more technical approach to particularly Mid Journey. Um, and most of them are probably going to have their own versions you know, of these black boxes of AI imagery in their own time. Like I imagine that Warner Brothers and all these other studios are all going to have um, their own versions of that only refer to their own vaults. And I think they're mostly going to be doing that for like their own liability's sake. But who knows? It's a corporation. They can do really. It's America and it's a corporation. They can kind of do whatever they want. uh, at least for now. So I'm pretty conscious of you know the fact that we have these tools now, and I would be very sad to see them go away. But at the same time, I understand if the laws change and everything has to kind of move in a different direction than where we're going right now. But my bet, and the reason I'm doing all these comics with AI outside of just building awareness of it, is the fact that there is a oh, I got some repeating pain. I can get rid of that one. The is just the fact that um I have a very strong bet that there will be no like legal recourse for you know AI imagery in media. It's like it's how are you going to tell what was made based off of copywritten work and whatnot? I just don't understand it. I don't know how you could ever tell. Um, but all right, cool. So I'm just gonna put this over here. We have all of these poses now. Um, some of them are redundant, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And I'm gonna put the smaller ones next to each other. And then we'll probably construct a couple lurker comics too, because that just sounds fun with you guys with what you all are doing. Um, okay, all right. So let me come into here, delete this one. So we have a bunch of stand up poses. We have our full body, a couple of our full bodies here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start building a character sheet. Um, ugh, look at my spine stretch up like that. Okay. I'm going to make a character sheet that is essentially a combination of all these turnarounds so that we can then get her into doing some actiony stuff, preferably some horror, like some horror action. Like I want to see her transform. I want to see her do something. You guys give me suggestions in the text chat of what you think this woman's abilities are. Okay? Like you know, be adventurous with your ideas, because we'll be able to prompt them and see if we get usable results. So, is she simply a vampire, or is she some sort of like skinwalker? And if you don't know what a skinwalker is, it's basically a changeling. It's something that can change its form and stuff like that. So, yeah, yeah. Whenever I was playing D&D, I was a skinwalker because I really like I really like what they can do. But all right, okay, cool. So, at this point, let's see here. Did you ever play D&D, Kinky?
I did.
What were your characters?
I had Navario. But more than that, I played White Wolf games, tabletop and live action.
Nice, nice. I was a Warhammer kid. I was playing a lot of Warhammer 40K growing up. So, tabletop, yes, but almost all with expensive figurines that I had to hand paint.
So I'm from Salem, Massachusetts, and
Oh,
like it was
nice.
just as Halloween was becoming a big thing here. But we would play live action Vampire Masquerade. And so we'd all be like lurking around the city, like playing our game and and freaking people out at the same time. It was kind of fun.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it was for me. I guess the spookiest thing I ever did as a kid was actually in my late teens. I would go to Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight, right, around Halloween. And the reason why it was scary was because it was like the early 2000s and stuff, and like everybody was like real afraid of gay people still,
Hmm.
and that hasn't really changed much, but it certainly changed enough, because I would be coming out in a dress, you know what I mean, and it just it's amazing how uncomfortable people are with that, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
like the Rocky Horror Picture Show's happening at midnight. It was like partially to keep people safe too, because it's like if it happened in the middle of the day, it would just be a bunch of harassment. So, yeah, yeah, no, I loved Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was my romping around town and acting like a jackass.
Got
Um, let's see here. Okay,
a couple powers rolling in.
yeah, I'm going to be checking those out here in just a minute.
Hmm.
First thing I need to do though is I need to take some of these full body poses, because we were able to extract the character just with some of our initial turnarounds, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab what I feel like is going to be a good primary, probably this one right here. And we want to make sure that we don't include any cutoff for the bottom of the feet. We want to cut her off somewhere inside of the body. And the reason why is because that negative space will be respected in some way and will likely do weird things. Like it might make the panel edge for a comic or something like that. We don't really want that yet. We just want to be able to preserve the character. So I'm just going to select this here and then just start pasting it into Discord. And I will do that with each pose because we already have a running pose or like at least a jog. We could get away with using that too, but for now I'm just going to kind of ignore that one, just because we're not at that stage yet. The important thing to kind of recognize at this point is that we've gone from snippets of the character from something else, to a now full body turnaround that's continuous, as in like it looks right from all the angles. So I'm just going to grab her from the back here and paste that as well. And then if we do have a straight back to her, it is a very small image. It doesn't really matter too much, and it will be a little faded out. So it may not we may have to get rid of this back at the head later on. But I'm going to post make sure that that's the last link, on the list, and the reason being is just so that there is less influence of this picture because it's so much more different than the others. Um, but we have this now, and we're going to just start off with this, see if this gets us close enough. And if it doesn't, then we'll start including the other poses, like the other images that we have. So let's go ahead and now start writing a prompt. I'm going to say full body. Oops. Full body, multiple. Yeah, let's do another turnaround here. Full body turnaround, multiple poses, multiple action poses this time. And then running, jumping, and you can write anything you want for your actions. If your character is never going to run or jump, then you don't need to write it this way. You can literally say like, if it's like a senior citizen, you could just write like a light jog or a jaunt or something like that. It evokes a less energetic movement. But for now, this should be fine. So we're just going to now actually take some of the wording that we had before. So that would be blue skin. I really don't like saying it. An ugly woman in a suit in a red. Yeah, 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 yeah. We'll include all this because we know that it worked before. And we're going to put that at the end of the prompt. So full body turnaround, action poses, running, jumping, and then blue skin, woman, blah, 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 blah. This, I'm more often using pronouns rather than just saying I want a woman. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh huh.
it's it is a little better to write pronouns because it makes more diverse results. But what we can see here is we didn't get a woman at all in any of these. It's literally Slender Man. Like it's really fun that we're getting Slender Man. Like if I come into here, like that's
It's kind of creepy that we're getting Slender Man.
yeah, we're just getting straight
He's
up.
like a it's creepy pasta straight from the internet. So now he's
I
invading
know.
your.
Yeah, right, right. And that's if you want that, it's just blue skin, An ugly woman, I guess, will generate Slender Man. Let. I hate that. But all right, let's go ahead and try to make this much more effeminate, right? But we are
To be
getting the
fair,
results
he
we
is
want.
a pretty ugly woman.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But let's see here. And this might have been where we take some of our slash describe results that we had earlier, right? And try to pull them back in. But for now, we can actually probably make do just by emphasizing her pronoun well earlier in the prompt. So full body turnaround. And then I'm just going to say, after multiple action poses, her. And then yeah, we'll just see how that works and see what we get back. Um, I can guarantee you that because of the kind of like painterly effect that we're seeing on the Slenderman here, it could very well because we have raw character as part of the prompt here. But I think we got it. So let's take a look. But what I'm seeing here is at least enough of accuracy in the first one here to be able to make it work. Here's where the ugly woman part I think is really kind of taking over. It's making her bald. It's making her like kind of like a ghoul in that regard. So because she's not bald, I'm actually going to remove the ugly woman thing entirely. I think that is probably going to get us a better result. We'll see. We'll see if that's better. And maybe we'll get less hairless results. Um, and Ghoul Punk is probably not helping in in that regard either, but it's fine. We'll probably make do just with this first one, honestly. But I want to see what comes back here. All right. Yeah, and so we have some hair. We have more interesting hair, kind of pulling out here. We're definitely um, basically our decisions at this point are really important because they're going to dictate how the character moves. And so if we jump now to what you guys wrote for let's see here. And I can't check on your PM right now, Mavis. If I do, I'm just gonna end up blasting any private messages. So that'll come later. Um, Probably when I go get a drink, I'll read it here, but or just privately. But I'm gonna jump back over to Discord here, and let's see here. So Tai Chi, we got fencing, mind control from Brandon. Got breakdancing. Yeah, you want me to do some more breakdancing prompts? Yeah, yeah. +5 in breakdancing. That's funny. Okay, cool. Let's use Tai Chi and fencing. I think that might be interesting. Or we could see what mind control gives us, but I imagine it's just gonna be a lot of like, men talk the mind maker kind of putting her finger up to her temple. So we'll see what we get with that. So the important thing at this point is that we have all of our image URLs that we had collected earlier of the full bodies. These ones here, and we are now going to post those into one of these prompts. Um, in terms of like Tai Chi and fencing and stuff like that, we can actually force that into the actions. So if I now copy this prompt and let's say uh, action poses, and then let's just do Tai Chi because I think that will get us at least the posing that we're expecting on this here. I just need to make sure that I actually spell it correctly.
Well, Bob wants her to be a master barista, the character.
A master barista. Okay. Like
Yes.
is she okay, so she's like an undead bartender?
Yes.
Is that what I'm getting at? Or
Coffee bar.
coffee bar. Okay. All right. I'll run that just to see what we get out of there too.
She's gonna get a green apron.
Right, right. So let's do multiple action poses, but instead of running, jumping, whatever, I'm just gonna use barista. So we'll see if we get yeah. Barista. Okay, okay, so this is the Tai Chi one. And I'll load this up here. We got a kick in the air. That's pretty fun.
Ooh.
It's the thing is that if we use variation strong at this point, we will not be able to retain most of these poses. But if we use variation subtle, we will. It just might come out a little murky. Um, the results of doing barista is actually kind of funny, only because she's like super proudly holding a coffee cup in some of these. But it's a little honestly, it's a little boring. Just because it's it's just going to be kind of suddenly she is a confident businesswoman. When we were trying to get some ghouly spooky things, I guess, going on. So
Maybe
I don't
sometimes
know.
you can make Sage a barista since she always has coffee.
Right, right, right. She's. I can imagine her being more the kind of person that that it gives a long list at the barista. You know what I mean? Like I can
Oh
kind of
yeah.
see her doing that. But what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna take some of the poses sheets that we liked here, or at least that I liked. I like this first one a lot simply because the movement is really clean in it. But I also like this fourth one because it's just silly with her in the air kicking and all that kind of stuff. So I have the links here. So the only thing I got to do is pop back over here, and I'm going to now upres the ones that had poses that I like. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say this one too because it kind of has some cool effect to it. And then yeah, that should be good. So now I'm gonna take all of our URLs that we've had selected here. I'm gonna close a ton of windows here really quick. All right, and reopen our links. So this is the full bodies, right? So I am just going to now paste the full bodies into the beginning of this prompt as a variation strong. And I'm going to try to do that for all of them here. Um, and we'll see what we get. And now I'm just going to copy all those links just so I have them for later. And we're going to do that also on these as well. Now, keep in mind, the thing that I'm trying to accomplish here is I'm using variation strong at first because I just want to see if we're able to retain any of these kind of poses just with variation strong, because variation strong is going to be a lot closer to what our links look like. But if we don't, if we still really want to get her kicking like that, like her in the air kicking like this, right? Then I will do it as a variation subtle and then paste that. And then if we really want to go far with it, we can actually come into here, paste it, and then start using an image code, so IW or hyphen IW. And because the higher that number is, the more it's going to refer onto the links that are inside the prompt. So I'm actually going to drop that. I'm going to put that to 0.6, and we're going to see if we still get her karate kicking in the air like that.
I
Um,
wonder what world that kick would be effective in.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't look very comfortable. But we could see that off of the first variation subtle that we got, it largely lost her. It got the general posing, but we don't have her hair in any of these results, right? And then this is the one where I ran the image weight lower, and again, we don't get any. We have a little bit of hair, but nothing really dramatic. It still looks pretty murky, but this actually came out better. We actually got some better hair. I just realized I'm too small for you guys to see that. Her hair is actually pretty good here. It just the red of her eyes are missing on all of these results, which is basically to be expected. Not a big deal there. But we could still use these as like references for poses. But the what will always give us a better result at this stage will be variation strong, because it lets us be able to say, hey, I want you to find, I want you to hold on to this character as much as possible. So like I see a lot of like crime investigation slash like reporting to the boss of monsters. Like I could almost see her being like like a mini boss before you deal with the main boss or something like that. I don't know. Like I'm getting some pretty fun vibes from her. But what we can do is take whichever ones we feel like evoke the character the most, because the way your character walks tells so much about your character. Honestly, it says like not only their like mood and confidence and stance and stuff, but like it really lets the audience know like who she is just based on how she moves. Um And in some of these, it's kind of making a dress for her out of the blazer. Like it popped out the blazer almost like a, like a Sunday dress kind of thing. Or sorry, like a summer dress. I don't know what the exact attire would be for that, but I wouldn't use this first one because it makes it look like she's wearing a tutu. You know what I mean? Like you got to make decisions like this where you are very considerate of what the audience might think of the character at this stage. So I really like this first one. I really like how menacing she looks as she looks down at the audience, um that kind of logic is what you want to do. So I'm just going to upres these, and we'll just kind of take it from there. I won't worry about any of the action poses just yet. This gives me enough action for her, honestly. It may not look like action, but when you think about like a character moving around, do you really like? Is she menacing like psychologically? Like, is she going to be someone where she doesn't need to run fast at you to get you? Like, she could just get you. You know what I mean? Like, I like characters that are much more unsettling than like physically scary. So I think this will work.
There's some suggestions, like, you could name her Capicine, and,
Capricorn.
Galfrey swears that's a real name. And Blacklight wants to know what prompt was used for this.
Oh, okay. Well, for the lady, like for the actual original person here, not the ones that we did slash describe on, but if I kind of open up here, I got to switch over to the couch really quick.
Oh, and,
Um,
Galfrey clarified that that's pronounced Capuchin.
Capuchin. Okay. Okay. Yeah, capuchin. I've heard that word before. Sometimes at the beginning of the images, they'll actually include the entire prompt inside of the file name, right? And we got lucky this time because it's here. So there's going to be underscores in it because it's a file, right? But I'll paste it here. That was the original prompt. Turnaround side profile view of a cyberpunk woman with blue skin, red. That was the, at least that is as much as what was saved in the user, like in the file extension. The prompt was probably a lot longer than that. I don't know what the initial results were or anything. I didn't make the character originally, so that's the best you're gonna get from me. But when it comes to doing slash describe and stuff, we got some pretty decent results off of that. So um, but what I mostly want to do at this stage is we got to bring the poses we liked from the action poses that we made and bring them into the character here, so that by the end of it, we have not only various different angles of the character, we have various different movement and poses that, all these decisions build up the personality of the character. And this is part of the exercise. Like, this is part of the experience that when you've done 3 or 4 characters, you'll realize that all those like kind of waiting to render moments where you're staring at the character going like, what if, what is so unique and interesting about this character, that's actually you doing character like building. Like you're building the character in your head so that when you make the selections in the future, you're leaning more towards those results. So when I did the churro cat comic with Kinky, she was like, I didn't do anything, I just upresed it. I'm like, that's everything. That literally is everything. You got to be able to recognize that, yes, it may feel like nothing when you just hit a button and then you move on or whatever. The reality is that you chose it, you picked it. There is something that you liked about it, and more likely than not, someone else can actually develop on top of that. Ooh, someone just submitted. Nice. But the key thing is that the decisions you make are going to dictate the results later on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Bob did a lot. So, like, I would have never seen that again if it wouldn't wasn't for Bob and you. So,
Yeah. I mean, Bob did a lot. I mean, let's be face front about this. Bob like did like the entire layout. I literally didn't change his layout except one bar out of the whole thing. So like it really shows you just like, if as long as you're not like super rigid about your ideas, AI generated like storyboards and storytelling are just amazing. The problem is when you get too rigid, and like I said, for commercial reasons or whatever, um, if you allow Midjourney to be seen as more like a collaborator rather than a tool, right? Suddenly it makes a lot more sense of the workflow that you're going to be doing, because you want to be able to allow for some creative expression from Midjourney. It feels really weird to say, oh yeah, no, the I trust this robot to have creative judgment that's on par with my own. But the reality is it does. It speaks in patterns that we would never be able to properly understand, at least not right now. Um, Solely because it's making languages that we don't understand. Like the biggest the I guess one of the biggest misconceptions about AI imagery in general is the fact that we're not photo bashing anything. It understands what art is, what line weight is, what chromatic aberration is, and so many other technical terms that the reality is that it's able to make the complex equations, like complex math that just brings like these concepts together. And so when I say, oh yeah, this character looks confident or this character looks shy or whatever, that is also baked into the information that's inside of Midjourney. So like it's kind of nuts when you really think about it. What's happening here is it's translating visual information as like a bona fide language. And we only know that through through our own experiences of art and and media in general. Yeah. By the way, my D&D character was named Jumble of Laya, because I made jambalaya once a week in my household, and my the DM was like, no joke characters, and I was like, okay. His name is Jumbles of Laya, and he's like, you are a jackass, and I'm like, yeah.
He might have been right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. No, no. I'm a terrible person to play D&D with because I get very easily distracted very quickly. So like I'm the last person that you should really be confident with playing D&D with. But anyway, so I mostly just want to take these poses here, and I want to find um anything that might be missing in terms of what I think this character, could be doing. This is like a bit too much of a T pose, in my opinion, but I'm collecting all these here simply so I can copy and paste them later if it fits the scenario that I'm going for. If this character is never going to be sad or whatever, then I'm not going to include any expressions that are sad from this point onward. But I'm assuming that this is a full-fledged character, so we are going to include everything as much as we can anyway. All right, so I have them all separated out here. It should be pretty easy to select everything. The last thing we really need now that we have a couple of basic action poses is we need to make an expression sheet. We need to actually have this woman express at least having some range. She can't be a two-dimensional character. See, a one-dimensional character is a character that literally has no expression sheet. It's just going to be a rather blank or whatever. Ideally, the rest of the poses and stuff are relatively the same in this regard, except for the expression sheet, where the expression sheet has a large variety of the different ranges that you want the character to go through. So for now, we are going to leave these action poses to the side, and we're going to focus on an expression sheet, which will require us focusing on these like close-ups and stuff. So first, I will copy some of the previous ones we did. So it'll be this one here. And the expression sheet's going to let us also like actually like have the character act, because you have one-dimensional characters that has no expression sheet. A two-dimensional character is a character that is, may sound obvious like as a cartoon character or whatever, but you're never really going to see a cartoon character going through a complex three-dimensional problem. You know what I mean? Or like have to talk about a crisis in life or something like that because they're beavers and they only talk about cereal boxes all day. You know, I mean, there's a reason why we call someone a two-dimensional character. If they don't have like, actual struggles in life, or they don't have any sort of like, conflict, that's meaningful, then they're far more two-dimensional than three. So okay, we have all four of these here. I am now going to come into here and we're going to write a new prompt. That new prompt is going to be pretty generic. It's going to be multiple expressions, multiple poses, her, and then I'm going to write the rest of those character descriptions that we had here. Blue skin, a woman in suit, blah 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 blah. And hopefully what's going to happen, because we only focused on the face this time, it'll be a lot of like, shots of the face, but we might get some more full bodies too. It really just depends on the results here. I like the fourth one. The rest of them are quite literally unsettling. Like this one especially. Like I'm just gonna pull this up because it's really weird. Um, Look at this. It's like she's playing with her only two hair strands that she has, and she's pulling one of them out, which is really unsettling to think about, that she's pulled all of her hair out except two strands, and she's pulling the second to last strand out. That's awful. Yeah, no, that's awful. So we're gonna try to focus on faces here instead of doing this. Um,
I don't
so
care what
let's
anyone says. Midjourney definitely thought about that.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna remove multiple poses and multiple expressions close up. Let's try that instead. It really depends on the character, honestly. The more live action you go, the more direction you have to actually give it at this stage with the prompts. So let's see here. I'll swap back over to here. So with this one, we got a really cool anime version of her, like animated versions of her. And I will upres that third one just because it looks cool. But I don't want that. I don't want, what looks like the opening to a comic series. And in fact, that fourth one's real badass, so I am gonna upres that. But that's not what I want. I keep clicking things that I like, but I don't. That's not what I'm going for. So instead, I'm going to say, um, let's actually literally tell it that we want multiple faces. So we do multiple expressions, multiple faces, and then I'm going to give a bunch of emotions. So sad, happy, upset, angry. And then we'll see if that's enough to encourage what we want. The important thing here is that we're going to be doing an injection after this. So we're not really looking too much for like continuity. We're instead trying to get her in different faces. And this top right one is it's not too complex, but we don't want her to have that much range. You know what I mean? Like it really depends on our intention here. But I like the top right one. There is some potential out of that because it is multiple subtle gestures in different directions, and that's what we want. So I'm going to hit upres on that. And then I'm going to do a variation strong and include all of our links from earlier. So where is that? Yeah, here. Boop, 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 boop. And then I'm just going to inject that. And now we can go back and include links that we had earlier. Like if we want to include a couple full bodies here, we can. But remember, the thing that we're trying to do here is we're trying to get an expression sheet out of her. So that means that all these links that I'm going to be posting here, if we include full bodies at this stage, we are probably going to pollute our results a bit. They might not look like what we're aiming for here. But for now, this should be fine. Even removing the profile would help because there's no profile in the image that we're injecting into, right? So we may do that too. Boom, boom. Yeah, we needed a bow tie in our last stream, and then AC just included the David Tennant, no, not David Tennant, the Doctor Who actor, the other guy, the new guy, the new-ish guy, newer guy. I know there's been like four other doctors since then, but He just included a picture of him because he has a big red bow tie on, and it worked really well. So you'll notice that with variation strong, again, we probably get closer to what is accurate to the character, but we start to lose that prompt. Like she suddenly, instead of being surrounded by faces, she is surrounded by people in the room that kind of look like her. So we got to go up to variation subtle, paste all those links, and then just submit that and see if we can get it closer without doing any image codes or anything like that. And while that's running, I'm actually going to reload this one too, just because I feel like we can get even better than this. All right, let's take a look at this. So yes, this is what I want. Okay, um, we she's a little more sterile in some of them, like uh, and in fact, I'm gonna just do that again. So we're gonna hit variation subtle, paste the links again, and then submit. I cannot use the reroll button because we did an injection. Um, but if you look here, we got more ghoulish Slender Man sort of stuff, but the top right one is pretty spot on. So I'm going to also upred that. It's a little more of a chibi version of her, but maybe we can use that too. So let's take a look at our newest render here. I'll open this up here so we can take a closer look. All right. So we don't have a large range in the character here. We have mostly her like before and after feeding is what I'm seeing, right? Like if she's like if she eats people or whatever, then we know because she's covered, her face is like halfway covered in blood in half of these pictures. Um, but I do think that we aren't getting the diversity that I'm expecting. The bottom right is the one exception because we have her angry and smile like a subtle, almost like Mona Lisa smile on her. Um, what will probably work best will actually be to combine some of these results because some of them are going to be dominatively happy, dominatively sad, or whatever. We can get away a lot with just combining two or three of these results. Uh, and if we look at the one that's quite chibi and exaggerated, yeah, we got our different facial reactions, but it doesn't look like her. It'll do some real weird bug-eyed stuff if we try to do this sort of Nightmare for Christmas combination with the original art. So, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look at this sheet here, and I'm actually just going to upres the ones that I think work. So we're going to do 1, we're going to do 2, and 4. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to hop back over to here. And the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a row of these that is all just faces. And the idea here is that if we need a very particular face at any point in time, we can just inject that in particular face into the scene. But I want to make sure that I mostly get rid of ones that I know are not on model. And we'll keep her poses in the center just for the sake of having it. So keep that over there. And you notice that there's no white background on these. We will have to reintroduce the white background. So let's get her smiling here. And you basically want one pose for every major reaction that you're expecting to do. Sometimes it's nice to actually have a little bit of these dirtier ones, right? Like where it's like the face is a bit muddled or messy, because sometimes you need to like show a character that's in motion or running around or whatever. It can be helpful to have some of that. So I don't like any of the other ones from this one necessarily, so I'm going to leave that to the side or just get rid of this one here. And then grab the next one. This one's going to be her a little more shy or sad or whatever. It's a little bit of an awkward range here, but um, we at the very least want to make sure that the ones we select are about the same. So we want to make sure she does not have too long of hair in any of these results. And this one it's all generally long, but we can actually just cut off whatever length we don't want to include. So I'm going to copy this one over. The one thing about this character, this result anyway, is that the character doesn't really have a single line of hair in her face, but in all of these she has lines in her face, and we'll clean that up later. So this is a very basic character sheet, but it's kind of like a villain's character sheet where the only thing that happens to them is that they are, they're kind of miffed and upset about stuff. and then maybe there's a big shock and surprise. So because of the shock and surprise one, let's prompt for a very specific emotion. Okay. So I'm going to do copy the prompt, and we are going to, instead of saying sad, happy, angry, whatever, we're going to do shocked and surprised. Just kind of trying to force that particular face. Yeah, and we got it. We got it on the second one here. Cool. So I'll full screen this so you guys can see a little better. Look at that. Look at that. This is without image injection, okay?
She's
So
horrified.
she is quite horrified, and she's got blue skin, so that's all we really need on that. But what we're going to do is we're going to grab our links, and I'm going to do, even though subtle will be more than enough on this, I'll do both just to see what happens here. And then I'm going to take some questions after that.
Yeah, I got 2 pages done so far with gluttony.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it.
Yay.
Yeah, and I hope that whatever kind of stuff I've been spouting has been useful in that regard. It's one thing to, to put something together. It's really tough to find your own voice, especially with AI imagery, honestly, because everything keeps changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a little tough, but it is possible, and it really takes just having a way to do things. Giving yourself some
Uh-huh.
rules.
I've been drawing over a lot of it, so it's got a lot of like. It looks a lot like the things that I've hand drawn. So it's got
That's
like
good.
my messy like sketch lines on it, and but I like it. I like it. I'm gonna go over
Awesome.
it one more time before I put it anywhere, but
I want
you
to
can
see it.
definitely see the difference between like the first page and the second page where I'm getting like slightly better, and then the third page will probably be even better than that. But
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
keep it that way just so I can remember what I did.
So here's the thing. I'll tell you guys this right now. When I was making Beyond the Valley, I have to like kind of stomach myself a little bit when I look at some of like the early pages that I did for it, because the technology's improved so much, right? But the thing is about it is that I had an artist reach out to me, and they were like, because I had recommended that they started a website or whatever, and they were like, look, I really don't like your stuff, man. And I'm like, that's okay. I don't really, you can feel whichever way you want. And they're like, no, 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 no. Like I literally, it makes me ill looking at it. And I'm like, okay, I would love to learn more, and she's like, look, it's because everything you make is so discordant. It's so and talking about my earlier work, it's so clearly like AI stuff. Like all the layouts are all random and all this stuff. And I'm like, I did Midjourney didn't dictate any of the layouts. That's all my brain just being dumb, and understand, like I'm trying my best here to make sense of the chaos that I had available to me at the time. So it's like a lot of the earlier stuff, especially anything I made before Beyond the Valley, is going to be very, very like it's kind of like documenting in real time the progress of AI like development. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing my limitations being put up front, and
Yeah.
those limitations lower as the technology gets better. And so there's a couple of folks that I've talked to that are like, all right, I couldn't get past the first couple pages. And I'm like, well, that's the problem there, because the first couple of pages is when the technology was at its roughest. You know what I mean? Like you're literally
Mhm.
watching it evolve as it goes through. So it is something where I do think I'm going to have to remaster a couple pages in the future. Um,
That's absolutely stunning. Like when you look back at your Midjourney profile from
yeah,
this
yeah,
time last year.
yeah, go to midjourney.com, go to your archive and scroll all the way back and see whatever was the first thing you prompt if you're a power user here, because I can promise you it'll be a lot more jarring than what you think, because it's like, oh wow, I thought this was worth keeping. This was worth keeping on a hard drive somewhere. No, like like it's amazing how little you care about that stuff now, because it's so much better now. But yeah, I mostly want to point out to you guys, if you really don't get the face that you want out of, like, this is the collection here that we got. There's some usable faces in here, but a lot of them are kind of chaotic and wrong for the character that we're going for here. Some of them work, but most of them don't. But because we're only looking for one face here, we actually got a really good one, which is the top right one here. She's like properly like, oh crap, what is I didn't expect that. Like in in an anime when the lead character pulls out the little like sneaky surprise from their sleeve. That's the kind of face that the villain would give, being like, oh crap, and then the thing hits him or whatever. I like this one a lot. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this face and use that as the surprised and shocked, and that should give us all the expressions we need to move on.
I like some of the ones in the background too.
Right? Yeah. The only problem with using the background ones whenever these results kind of come up like that is keep in mind that they're heavily desaturated.
Yeah.
You'll notice just you're gonna have to fix that. You're gonna have to fix the ways the darks and the lights combine with each other. Because if I say remove the middle of her, this could easily be like a scene at night, or like a day for night sort of shot, for the darkness is more exaggerated within the camera than it is in real life, or maybe said another way, she's in the fog. You know what I
Looks like
mean?
she's
Like,
done in cyanotype.
yeah, something like that. So instead, what we want to do is we want to just preserve the ones that look closest to our reference sheet here. So what I'm going to do is we have some variations between her and a couple of these results, but it's probably going to be enough for what we want to do. I just don't want to get her having suddenly long, largely Asian hair. That's what that's what I'm seeing here. Maybe I'm wrong about that ethnicity. Sorry to just throw that random ethnicity out, but that's what I see. It's so we're probably going to have to cut down some of these results. So for example, on this one, the hair's a little too long, so I'm just going to cut that out right there, and that should help not promote the length of the hair being too long, because it's going behind the shoulders. Like, we can kind of force some of these reactions to not give us bad information or bad results by honing in exactly the image data that we want to use. So I'm going to do that for all of these here. But the main thing that I want to pull out from here is that look at how much we've built already of this. We have her approaching in a villainous way. We have her standing in a villainous way. Maybe she's opening the door to find something or whatever, but all these poses evoke something specific about this character in a way that we just haven't seen yet, right? We'll see it when we start prompting, but we need to zoom out like this because we need to see where the inconsistencies are. She is way too brightly saturated in some of these results. She has some lack of saturation in these close-ups. These tweaks are they're not essential, but man, do they help out when it comes to really honing in the character here. And you'll only really know that by having experience with programs like Photoshop. Like, for example, I see that her face is way too round in all of these ones here. I'm actually going to adjust that just simply by squashing the faces a little bit here, just so that I can kind of recreate her face that's here. Um, just a little bit anyway. I'm just trying to encourage the results to be more in what I'm expecting. Alrighty, so now we got to show off this expression sheet in action here. Well, actually, I got to remove the backgrounds on them first. And if you do include like backgrounds and stuff like that, it's not the end of the world. Like the cultists, for example, we'll get into the cultists here in a minute. But like the cultists, they don't have their backgrounds removed. The reason why they don't is because it helps encourage them being inside of a dark, spooky, like gothic structure of some sort. So I wanted to just keep encouraging that because it's just funny to me. But at this stage, we can essentially just take out any sort of like ugly bits that we see and then collapse it all down once we have this layout in a way that's easy for me to copy and paste, which for the most part it is right now. But we need to like remove this background, and this is a very, very ugly spread out character sheet, but I'm gonna hit save. I think this is good enough for now. Ancient said that he screwed up the aspect ratio and it was a nightmare. Yeah, aspect ratio is an easy way to make nightmare fuel, that's for sure. Just bonking that one up real good. I hope you won't use the word stupid. You say you do, but you don't. I don't know what that's in reference. Probably something dumb I said, honestly. Um, let's see. You need to see behind the evil deeds. They are all made with good intentions. Just out of other perspectives, there is a not human or on Earth who is. Oh, sorry. Okay, there is no human on Earth who is truly evil or truly good. Yes, that's true.
Everyone's the
Hitler.
good guy in their own story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, some of the worst people through history are like dog lovers. You know what I mean? Like, it's, and I'm not gonna just start naming awful people through history, but yeah, like, it's amazing when it comes to, like the Disneyfication of like the Western just people, where it's suddenly like everyone had to be like I guess the face front of it is, oh, pretty princess. Everyone needs to have a little pretty princess in the house. The thing is that it's way worse when you talk about like the villainization of like certain people or certain things, right? Like it's too often that like like villains, especially through history, were like given large noses and other things to to basically villainize Jewish people. You know what I mean? Like there's all sorts of like stereotypes that were used in order to say this is what an evil person looks like, when there's no such thing. Like there's bad people. Yes. Is there like truly evil? Like evil incarnate? No. Like there's some terrible people come to some terrible decisions that get a lot of people hurt. Don't get me wrong there. There's definitely those people exist and have existed. But it's it's uh it's a lot more nuanced in that regard. Um, yeah, that's a two-dimensional character. Is a truly evil person that has, like, you do not make a good villain by making them just evil for the sake of evil. That is how you make a bad villain. And I still mean bad like good. I mean like bad like bad. Um, you want your villain to have a motivation that the audience could honestly believe in. Like that makes a great villain. Um, the Black Panther movies, most people like the villain more than the lead. And when you talk about the actual story, like I know the lead actor died and stuff like that, and obviously rest in peace to his family and stuff. But like more people connected with the villain in Black Panther than in the hero of Black Panther, because they were like, you know what? Yeah, yeah, screw it, screw modern society and like and everything wrong with with you know, the white world and whatnot. Like, yeah, 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 screw all that. Like that's where you make a great villain, because the people don't really know. Like they're kind of like hinging on what the movie maker, what the filmmaker's like, moral is. Like, is he actually going to be? Is the villain going to win? Is he not? Like these are questions that you ask because the villain is like super well written. Um, Let's see. Do you think the image weight of zero point 0.1 or 2 is more useful, or is the personalized image weight standard as an image weight 1 more useful? I'll say this. I really have trouble giving you a hard answer on that, because image weights to me are actually really subjective to the medium that you're working in. So if I'm doing live action, my image weights are a lot higher, because the skin tones, I don't want them to vary a lot. I don't want the human people to suddenly be different people. You know what I mean? So it makes my results a lot more sterile, and I end up re-rolling a whole lot more. But the reality is that I can't have someone changing ethnicities just because their skin tone slightly changes, or they suddenly lose all the pink in their skin or something like that. Like it's more often that if I'm doing like cartooning or animation stuff, I am not really using image weights at all, because I want to see the sheer variety of randomness in full action. I don't want to influence that too much. Yeah, Thanos did nothing wrong. Right, right. Thanos is an example of one of those villains that, like, it's one of those things where it's like he was built up over time. There was anticipation for him to basically, like, oh yeah, yeah, this character is going to want to delete half of the universe. You know what I mean? Like, they gave you time to settle with that idea and move on. But it's also true, like Marvel's not a great example in general of it's like they have clear cut evil and good characters, and it can be really boring sometimes. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I
Yeah.
bumped into an invisible vehicle once. I live in the countryside, and no one will believe me. It was really loud. Are you Wonder Woman? Like I mean, like invisible car. Okay. I always stay by default ratios. Yeah, yeah. Stay. I mean, you don't have to experiment heavily, but I'd usually just stay with defaults. Honestly, it is. I get it. When you have a character that you really like, I could honestly probably image weight the crap out of Victor and always get the exact result that I'm expecting. But honestly, I get really bored of my if everything comes back as I expected, I usually get pretty bored of it. So, um, okay, I was smoking e-cigarettes at the front of a forest and it came out of nowhere. I mean, I imagine it came out of nowhere. It's freaking invisible. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, all right. So at this point, I'm gonna move on. I'm going to grab our sheet here. And I just need to make a quick expression sheet to show you guys what it would look like to put this in a comic, particularly because a comic's going to just let us be able to like right away see the expression sheets in action here. So we're going to make two different character profiles for this one. We've already made the full body one. What we're going to do is we're going to make one that's only close-ups of the face for expression purposes. So I'm going to do first we'll do the first expression, which is kind of like the shocked one. We don't have to do this one first, but it's the highest resolution, so I'm just going to go with that. Yeah, I actually should probably select that one. The main thing is like I try to leave no negative space below the image because otherwise, like it's like what it was with the feet earlier. I want to make sure that I have as much, you know, logical connection to my existing images. So if there's no feet and it's just like the limbs hovering, she could very well be levitating in some of the results. So I little things like that are just based on the amount of negative space that's around your subjects here. Um, so this should get us started. We have this here, and then I'm going to end it with just the full body here of this because I think that will give us a good final reference. So if there's any missing parts of the image like that we need, we at least have a full body at the end of the list here. Um, it's just that's how I do things. I don't know if this is actually beneficial or not. It's just the way I like to do things here. Okay, cool. So now I have all 6 of these links. Boom, 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 boom. And what we're going to do is we are just going to prompt her into a comic here. So I'm going to say, we're going to do one about orbs because I'm jumping back into VC Create here. And then after we do this, I'm going to dig into your all's comics that you've made. Okay, cool. Jump to present. I keep seeing Mavis. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna do a web comic, and then I gotta grab the some of the descriptors here. Oh yeah, blue skin as well. There we go. And I'm just gonna write webcomic multiple panels, and then just paste her into there. I'm giving no direction on this. Oh, that's right. I have to talk about orbs. Hold on. Okay. Praising the orb. Or no, let's do pondering her orb. Let's just do the meme. And then we got to write multiple panels. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I know you could negative weight the orb out entirely, but I'm just gonna do it this way. Let's just say webcomic. And I'm not gonna even worry about multiple panels. I'm just gonna do pondering her orb. So we gave it some very minor direction, right? We told it to like ponder the orb, right? And we got some pretty fun results out of that. Pull this open here. So, we already got some results that are pretty close, to what we want. But I like the skull in the background on the top right one too. That's pretty cool. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna upres these two, and then I'm gonna paste the links that I have to do another injection here. This one right here. That's solid. That's a good one. But we could see here that with the variation strong, we were able to like, she's not really varying in emotion at all. It actually got an average of all of them, right? So what we can do is try to evoke more of a specific emotion at the start of the prompt here. So let's come back up to some of these are really cool. Um, let's do this one, and I'm gonna paste all those URLs. But at the front of the URLs, I'm gonna say that she is shocked and surprised because that was the first um, image that we've included on our list here. And I'm also going to do one where I try to force the webcomic panels again. So let's do that real quick. We're definitely getting some like, abducted by aliens kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of really fun imagery we're getting out of this. And you can see as soon as I pump up the weight on webcomic, right? We don't really get the paneling, right? We just get like a more generic, you know, just kind of I don't know how to describe that. That's it's basically just a generic style. It's super hard for me to describe that actually because the range is pretty good. It's just like one of them's anime, but yeah. Anyway, it's very easy to break your results by using image weights. Again, one of the reasons I don't really lean on codes very much. But we'll drop that by one value, webcomic 2, and oh, there we go. Brandon's got it. He's going hard on something, and I'm liking the results. So let's see here. Webcomic panels, villain HR agent fires a sad closet monster from an orb. Her blue skin, an ugly woman. Oh man, there's a lot here, but I'm loving it. I'm loving the results though. I hate that we're using ugly woman a lot, but it is true that like let's look at this top left one here because it's clearly a woman that's in there. I think we can use it. Anything that has people's faces that are like melted away, I'm all down for that. So what we're gonna do is we can kind of take a look at this comic right here, and we can see that we have various different like close-ups and parts of her that we can probably utilize. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a very basic character injection. This is going to be like the default character injection. Last time we were doing all close-ups. Let's do a mix. Okay. So I'm going to do at least at least two full bodies just so that we have her at different, like let's do this one here like that. And then another one that is somewhat evoking some of the imagery we're seeing here, which is mostly going to be waist up stuff. But I think we can get away with doing this walking pose here too, just to give her some hands and just to see what happens here. And then I'm going to do this kind of cowboy, almost. It's more like a medium shot rather than a cowboy shot, but we'll do this one as well. And I'm going to cut off her arm right here like that, and then paste that as well. And then I'm going to include at least one of these profiles of her. So let's do this one here, just because it's clean. And you notice that I'm kind of picking a range of of camera positions. Like it almost seems like we're slowly zooming in on the person. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want it to give me some range in the results. So for like this, for example, I'm gonna now include all of my reactions at the very end of the prompt. This is going to be all the like facial reactions we had before. So I'm gonna scroll back up here and just make sure I can copy and paste those. Yeah, I have them all here. Okay, cool. So now that I have all this, I'm just going to send that over. I'm going to open them all. Okay. And now I'm just going to make a slash prefer for her, prefer option set. And then I'm going to write, let's see. Yeah, what's her name?
Capuchin.
Capuch. Yeah. So I'm just gonna put her name as Capu because I like to keep them pretty short. So Capu, and then I'm going to include all these links inside of the value here. So and you do that by clicking plus more on there. So I first grab the full bodies. This is the order I do it. You don't have to do it in this order, but I grab the full bodies first, and then I start to then I grab a little bit of a medium shot here, and then a profile. And the profile can come a lot sooner too. It doesn't have to necessarily be now. Um, and then I grab the reactions here. So let's do this one, this one. So sometimes she'll have a little bit of a blood on her face, but we can easily fix that in Photoshop later. Okay, that should be all of them that we need. And then I can just hit enter. And now all those links will come back up if I hit capu in my prompts. So let me show you that here. And now out of these results, I can see that Brandon was already messing, or no, Mavis was already messing with some stuff here. But I'm going to go ahead and just do some variation strongs and stuff on this. So we'll do capu on the strong. Does that work? Let's first confirm. Yes, it does. All right, cool. No broken links. That's good. And then capu again. Hyphen hyphen, and then whatever you named it will generate all these. So let's take a look and see how these came out because they are looking great to me. Variation strong is amazing at this stage, by the way. It'll let us be able to take whatever we directed with our word only prompts. You see how like Brandon and Mavis and what like some of these guys are using word only prompts and then injecting the images afterward, like we did with the lurkers. The reason why this works is because your intent is being completely or better understood by using words only. And then when you find the images that matches like the composition and stuff that you're aiming for, injecting the images simply brings it back to style because you're already close. You're already close enough to where there's not too much divergence between your images and the results of your word only prompts. So, for example, this was the result that I got. And look, it's her hair is far closer than it was before. And we got some pretty cool bug looking alien dudes too now all of a sudden. But like I could easily see this as being like the opposite of X-Files. Like what is the alien version of X-Files where their job is to like keep track of the humans? You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
was definitely thinking she kind of reminded me of a Scully type.
Right, right. Imagine what Scully as an alien would be if she was working at MIB. Okay,
Doesn't
here's the
believe in
crossover.
humans.
Here's the crossover. Here's the crossover. Men in Black and X Files. Okay, it's basically like they had to keep the MIB organization secret from the X Files team, right? And just something related to that. I could totally see some stupid, not stupid, but just some silly idea that involves Scully having to walk inside and getting her memory wiped. You know what I mean? Like something like that, and it involves some sort of alien blue character like this. Um,
Genius.
and if say like we really like the male character here, right? We can even do this. We can go to vary region and only affect her. when we do this, and this is where we get to kind of like crazy land when it comes to some of this stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of select generally where she is in here, and this might be enough for us to get away with it. Where we include all the image prompts again, just like we were doing an injection, but we're only doing it on some of these parts here. And then we'll hit send here. And if we don't get the results we want, we can reduce the amount of words, reduce the amount of images, or just in general get something cool. But you could take a look here with the in painting. It's instantly like it's a glowing eyed lady with dark hair. You know what I mean? We're getting closer, but we didn't change any of the words. We didn't describe what hair she has or anything. We might have to do that. We might have to say that she always has a bob cut or something like that to really reinforce the silhouette of the character. But just this is just giving you guys an idea, right, of where we can really take this. Keeping characters and all that kind of stuff. And the yeah, overall, I'm very curious what this really, because like, you could take like this comic for example here, which is again, this is a word only prompt, right? And we're gonna hit variation strong on this. And you would think, oh, what is it gonna do or whatever? We're injecting into what looks like 2D, like almost like a Americana graphic novel. It with variation strong, it's going to bring a median into the two. But if with variation subtle, we can paste that in here. And if we get realism, great. If we don't want realism, we can always change the style to like Niji or anything else like that. Oh, look at this. Look at that. That's awesome. That is awesome. I love these like kind of demon ghouls in business suits. Like, oh, I'm
Good
really
cop,
liking.
bad cop.
Yeah, yeah. It also could just be like, you know, um, like there are the demons that you have to like that the demon slayer kills, but then it's like the boss is like this really pretty lady. You know what I mean? Like it like these kind of things are oftentimes tropes in film. I get it, but it is certainly true that you can kind of take full advantage of that on this with these stories that you guys are doing here, because you guys don't have actors or artists that are going to be like limiters to what you're doing. If you want a buxom blonde inside of your story, then it's really easy with Midjourney. It's way harder to get a quote unquote average looking person with Midjourney.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that before and how problematic some of that language can be, but it is very true that if you are like it's very commonly known that if you're in film and entertainment, you're probably going to have to at least, keep up a certain look to yourself because you won't get hired if you don't, you know? And unfortunately, what that means is that very pretty people end up being always on camera, or at least they're fake to be that pretty. Like they wear a bunch of like, like stage makeup and all that kind of stuff. But here we kind of have a sage here, which is pretty fun. Like another blonde girl. I'm gonna say every blonde girl is sage. Why not? But I'll just for funsies, I'll put sage in there just to kind of show you guys what happens when we go from variation strong with sage and then variation strong with Niji as a modifier as we do it. And we'll do that again, but this time with style cute as well. And so this is obviously my my characters and stuff, so you're going to see a little more divergence from styles here. But it's because we're merging into this kind of like scene that doesn't really match her too much. It's going to be interesting. Some of these results will look a lot more like her and some of them won't. um and you could see like it basically only, I would say only maybe the top right, if we did a variation subtle on it, would maybe work. But yeah, there's some very cute ones. And it all just comes down to the fact that that we're trying to find a median here, a median that works between the word only prompts and our images. At least that's how I do things. That yeah, this is a lot more. I would say the bottom two are just basically Sage at this point. She's ready to stab that guy in the hand. I'm gonna up res that because that's too funny. Like,
For sure.
okay, all right. I've distracted myself plenty on here, and I see the private messages, Mavis. I'll get to you in a bit here. Like I said, I'm gonna take a drink here for a minute, And then we'll check out the comics you guys have made, and we'll go from there. The At least for styles for me, whenever I'm running them, I tend to run a lot more into issues when the style is way too strong. Um, Style cute will make Sage it'll make Sage chibi and very obvious, but at the same time, it suddenly doesn't look like an adult woman anymore. It looks like a child. You know what I mean? Like I need to only use style cute when I want a reaction that's very exaggerated and chibi. I will probably not use that very much in actuality in my comic series because it's just way too damn strong. Uh, I'm liking what Mavis is messing around with here for sure. There's a lot of cute stuff. Um, you'll notice that with like okay, webcomic panels, villain, X Files, agent with short hair, red eyes, sitting at a desk lecturing, an MIB team. Um, sorry, it just kind of jumped away from me all of a sudden. MIB team using an unregistered orb weaponry, her blue skin, blah blah blah. Okay, unregistered orb weaponry. I like it. I like it. It's that's funny. So like if you went in here and we upres, yeah, you're already doing it. You're already starting to do variation strongs on stuff. You can see that we don't exactly get perfect continuity with this character, and it all comes down to the hair. It really does. Everything else is pretty spot on, which means that we need to officially pick a hairstyle for her. Okay. It's it might be the one word only prompt that we really stick with because understand that when I'm running Victor prompts, I am more often adding black hair, black shirt somewhere in the prompt. And that's just to give myself the shape silhouettes that I need in order to, in order to actually create the character I know Victor to be. Victor will sometimes, without those phrasings, will prompt with gray or brown hoodies, and it just looks really wrong to me. He looks way too casual, and he also just looks like a hippie. And frankly, Victor's not a hippie. If he's anything, he's a mall goth. He's a mall goth kid that never grew up. So yeah, all right, yeah, we're getting some great results from you guys, and I think these are awesome. I really like. Oh, look at this one. That is awesome. Look at the gun. The gun looks great. Yeah,
I
no, these
absolutely love that one.
this is cool. All right, so I can see folks are already doing subtles on this one. That's awesome. Like if I, yeah, yeah, there's a lot of potential out of some of the stuff that you guys are making, and which is always the hard part about me when it comes to like digging into this stuff is I am halfway completely like focused on trying to get one thing done and then completely distracted from that one thing because you guys keep making amazing things. So it's the struggle for my tunnel vision, brain. I as my mother would say, you have horse blinders on at all times. Like I cannot see anywhere but forward, and it can be really hard for me to notice when things are going on. Outside of that, I mean, I was literally streaming for nobody for 15 minutes because I didn't notice that I didn't shut up for 15 minutes. So
Little tunnel vision.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's also like I should have been on ADHD medication 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, but no, I'm
Same.
it's all good. All right. So I'm gonna dig back to some of the earlier comics while you guys are messing around with this blue lady. And I can see we need a couple more cultists here, so I'm gonna add a little more to the pile here. Cultist. Oh, nope, didn't spell it right. Just throwing in some more onto the pile there. Um, yeah, I'm liking some of these variations you guys are doing. I can almost see like the tallest one sort of joke. Like whoever's the leader is just simply the tallest one in the room, right? Um, ooh, that's a fun result. Look at the faces and how they made the multiple eyes kind of like wings on this, not wings, but like just like a collapsing god face is really cool. I like that. Um, there's a soccer ball. It would be kind of funny to have
That's
like
an
a
orb, technically.
yes, right? Well, wouldn't it be funny to like have a bunch of cultists in a room just going oh making noises and stuff, and then somebody throws a beach ball into the ring, and it's just all them having fun with a beach ball. Uh, let's see here. We got plenty of blue lady. Um, let's see here. What is? I am a party girl. I'm a pretty girl. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, you are. Oh God. There's some of these that are it's Midjourney's trying really try. It's wait a minute. Mavis, are you trying to merge yourself with the freaking blue
He is.
lady? Oh God damn it. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. I'm gonna move on that one. That's funny though. Still funny, but okay, cool. Whoa, what is this style here? Funny webcomic beer, knife, steak, whiskey, kitchen core, kid core, orb zero. Okay. Um, the princess. Thank you. Putting orb at zero made orb a nothing value, which makes sense that she's trying to do something else and didn't want an orb in there. This is so silly looking. It's like Angry Beaver's angry. It's great. Look at these. Look at it. Look at him just collapsing everything at the grocery store. This is cute. Yeah, there's also like injecting her into random comic prompts, you know what I mean, from some of you guys, which is pretty cool. Nonsensical, but that's the results you would expect by trying to merge such two alien things together. Um, you know, and different results. Different. Oh, look at this. Look at this badass dude being
I
badass.
know. I upscaled all of them, and they're not even mine.
Uh, that looks so cool. I like the idea that like there's too much fire around him. First off, I would probably in paint most of those fires to away, right? But it is kind of cool to have a little sprite fire next to him, right? Like just something where it's like, that's his like little travel buddy is just a flame that has a face. There was a I forgot if it was Looney. I think it was Animaniacs actually, where there's a story about the candle lit from yeah. Do you remember what I'm talking about? It
I
was like
do.
a little kid who's like a little kid face that was on a flame, and like it's about the writing of the Constitution or something like that. It was super cute.
It had like the most adorable voice ever, I think.
Right, right. I still remember that short fondly. So whoever made that gets a lot of. It's one of the cultists cleaning the pool. He's cleaning the kiddie pool. Oh, that's funny. I feel like I'm gonna go through some of these for you guys and end up making like proper stories for these, but there's some like orb to orb technology. Let me transfer my orb to your orb. Like there's some joke that could be here that's revolving around like the annoyance of using like I don't know like Game Boy Advance link cables or something. Like there's some sort of joke I could see out of that here. Um, and then yeah, it's really cool. Like that's basically a Reddit alien on the top left here. I'm gonna upres that because that's just a useful face to have for later. Um, more blue lady, plenty of blue lady, and plenty of Mavis being a blue lady. And so yeah, I really dig some of these guys. I think there's some potential here for goofing around and telling like this is basically Venice. You know what I mean? Like, they wore a lot of masks in Venice too, so that's pretty appropriate, I guess. But we're also getting a little bit of No Face, right? Like from it's not Howl's Moving Castle. It's Spirited Away. Yeah, Spirited Away. We're getting a little bit of No Face as well. Um, more gondolas. Perfect. Is Venice in the prompt actually? Funny webcomic, two cultists in black robes in Venetian gondolas. Okay, yes, you did actually add it in
Mm.
there. There you go. I get it. Look how much look how balanced Mavis got some of these responses with him in it. So it's like, yeah, you got her tie and her hair, but everything else is you. Now, granted, I imagine that's a little more of her figure that's there too, but like still, like it's really cool to see someone who has a lot more experience with image weights than I do, which is Mavis. Like Mavis has an insane amount of like knowledge about how to balance these image results and stuff. And yeah, it's just really cool to see that in action here. Uh, I am certainly gonna find use for the little guitar guy. Like the little guitar guy is cool. Um, and yeah, and we're back up to the protest prompt or the court prompt here, so that's great. I feel like I'm pretty caught up at this point. I'll dig through again later, but at this point, we have this character sheet, which I will be posting under my original characters in Discord by the time I have this cleaned up and stuff. But the idea with this was that we are able to build whatever kind of reactions we need to whatever scene that we want based on as few images as possible. I need to emphasize this because I see people making massive image links or image just a bunch of image links. If you're having trouble, if you get stuck at somewhere and you can't recreate that one part of the character very specifically, reduce it down to one image that you're in painting or prompting with. You'll probably get closer faster that way than by merging a bunch of images together. Um, you know, if you take your time and run a bunch of image weights on different pictures and see what you get, awesome. But in my experience, I tend to find my result really quickly just by just by reducing my images down to just the very thing that I want. So having a big character sheet like this means that you won't have to re-roll a bunch. You know, you're just gonna quickly click. If I need her to suddenly break her body form and be weird looking, boom, I just take that weird looking Slender Man pose that she has and use that instead. So yeah. Well, it's 7 o'clock now. I will say that normally I take these streams to 8, but my throat is just killing me, y'all. I've got to be honest. I feel like I'm kind of at the end here for myself, but I want to take any questions or any things that you guys have to say here, and then I'm gonna probably call it a night after that. I'm just being straight with you all that if I keep going, I'll lose my voice. That's
Yeah,
for
don't do
sure.
that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't hurt yourself. um, you have the person who's asking why style wasn't working. Rex. Oh wait. Rex says, "Yeah, ADHD is superpower productivity wise. I wish I had ADHD." You think that? Um,
Yeah. You don't actually. Here's the main thing, and I'm just before we keep going on questions on here because this is pretty important. A lot of people glorify ADHD. The reality is that it is something that is it's a disability. First off, we can't be like beating around the bush on this one. It is a disability, and it's a disability that hurts people in a lot of ways that they don't really recognize it because they get called lazy, especially if you're a woman. The women get
oh yeah.
misdiagnosed with depression and bipolarism all the time because they have ADHD. And that's why I'm saying if you're a woman out there and you're listening to this and you're diagnosed with given SSRIs for your depression and stuff like that, just get a second opinion, just get a third opinion, just ask around because frankly there is a better chance than you may, and especially if you know it doesn't matter the gender of your doctor, but ADHD is like something where if you are properly medicated for it, you will be happier. It's not a superpower. It is not like it may feel like that from an outsider's perspective, but it really isn't.
Like I'm over here raising my hand and waving it around. I definitely can relate.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who are addicted to the internet in general, like who just stay online all the time and stuff like that, kind of fall into that category. But the reality is, you need to be diagnosed by a doctor, and you need to be willing to go to multiple doctors because, in men they'll go, oh yeah, you're having a trouble with attention. Here you go, you have attention deficit disorder. It with women, they go, oh, you're having a problem and you keep having problems. Like they just don't listen to women the same way they listen to men. It's really upsetting. So
hmm
like I highly recommend getting a second or third opinion if you got
Boken says, "When I think about Animaniacs, I think about the fart machine, and that's pretty much Venice."
that.
What?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of familiar. I don't remember every episode, like down to the beat or nothing like that. I know that there was another show that was inspired by Animaniacs, where there was a kid saying, "This is the most annoying song in the world," and it's literally just saying, "This is the most annoying song in the world," and it just reminded me of like the Dumb and Dumber, right? Where it's like, this is the most annoying sound in the world. It literally is the same thing, but made into a song. Yeah, exactly. It's just made into a song, so it was awful. And yeah, for some reason that one's ingrained in my memory pretty good.
Right. Red Shirt says, no questions, but thank you so much. Great presentation.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you liked it, man. I don't really know how these streams really go until like I would say like 2 days afterward, because then I'm like actually editing everything and I'm looking at your all's every response and I'm going, oh, okay, I did that right, or oh no, my audio was too low the entire time, or whatever it was. I always appreciate the feedback, and even though I may not get to your question or your response inside this stream, I guarantee you I see it because I go through the footage and I have to edit everything down. So I really thank you guys so much for tuning in and stuff.
Fallon Ray Art says, you're the bomb. I mean, orb. And thanks, Victor Gnarly. Brandon MC says, it was very nice of you to come on and do this, even though you're not feeling well. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Fallon Ray, thanks, Kinky Kong, Loud Angel, and the mods. Giddy, this stream was super helpful. Thanks. Hey, Giddy, we're here every Friday. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before. And Jillian, we are also here every Friday. I'm not sure if I've, Jillian, I don't think I've ever seen you as well. Um, oh, we love you, Gallifrey. And she says, it amazes me that we both do this for her. Princess Lex says, thank you for an awesome class as usual, Victor. So much fun making orbs today, and she hopes you feel better soon.
Well, thank all of y'all for sure. I definitely appreciate everything, all the well wishes and all that stuff too. It's definitely appreciated. I don't necessarily feel bad necessarily. I just know that I wouldn't normally be this hoarse in the throat if I was at 100%. So next week, it's officially the month of spookiness next week.
Yay.
So and what I want you guys to do is, yes, have fun with some cultist prompts and stuff, but let's make some Halloween comics next week. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. It would be really fun to like really lean into the idea of doing like cute horror or cute spooky, right? Where we try to make things that are very relatable. There is a subreddit I want you guys all to look at for inspiration. Okay. I'm gonna pull it up here and I'm gonna link it. And it's called Hellsome Memes. Um,
Aw.
and the reason why I'm gonna recommend this subreddit is because it's literally the most wholesome group of witches and demons you've ever met is inside of this subreddit. So like yeah. I'm not gonna click any of them. Enjoy. It's really funny. I really like this subreddit a lot. And I just think that for next week, this is essentially great inspirational material for everything that we'll be getting into for the month of October. So yeah, uh, I guess I'm gonna leave it at that. I really do appreciate all y'all for joining. You guys are welcome to go to my website victorgnarly.com if you want to check out some comics and original stories that I've made. And I got some socials on the top right corner. So if whatever your social media of choice is, click it, join it, follow it, do all that jazz. I'm really bad at self promo, but I really thank you guys so much for watching. Really do.
And I'll see you next week.
Yeah, see y'all next week. Have a good one, y'all.